Hello. It is time. It's a little late for me. I'm sorry about that, guys. Work. Awesome. Well, hello. It is time. Late for me. Might not be up much longer. Well, I appreciate you coming for a minute. Coming off the heels of yesterday, I realized that the Johnny games they they uh they are more unique and idiosyncratic than I had initially thought. After raging at Sally Nine and just completely quitting, it truly is. There is a balance. There is a uh, how do I want to say that? There is an essence of Johnny. I truly I think some of the games I've played so far missed the mark about what makes Johnny Johnny. I think the closest thing, obviously, we haven't got into the more specifically Johnny likes. Okay, we haven't played the ones where you play as the titular hero Johnny. We played as the loosely inspired by Johnny series. But I almost feel like the thing that they were inspired by wasn't the same thing that I was inspired by. When I played the Johnny games, the thing that inspired me was it felt like just an unconscious foray into having fun and being playful. That's what I that's the essence of like a Johnny to me. Is like you just sit down and you just make whatever comes to mind and then you play through it, and if you don't like it, then you like add stuff in between. You just play around with it. It's like a playground. It's not a mechanically dense timed like Super Mario clone. I like it's just weird, bro. Very weird. This stream is prediction. This stream is a scientific study, philosophizing Johnny, like a school lecture about Johnny. I really think this stream has got to be the essence of Johnny. What makes a Johnny game Johnny? What what makes something creatively hypnagogic? I think those are two questions to answer. And then why is like Johnny so unique despite being so simple? Um, I agree with Noli. Hard agree on having fun and being playful. Johnny almost has more in common with dolls than with other games. Yeah, Johnny is like picking up toys in a sandbox and just like playing pretend. That's like what the Johnny series is. And the games I played yesterday, man, I feel like they missed the mark very significantly. I feel like Mike got closer to it because it was like just playful, but I still think it was a little too rigid in some areas for maybe what it was trying to do. I don't know. It was more playful in the sense of like, hey, we're here to have fun, but Mike was more goal orientated. It was like specific. As much as I hate the like invisible platforms and like weird boundary exits and stuff, that's part of what makes like the idea of play fun. It's like childlike. Like you can't necessarily expect everything to be the same or have the same outcome. Granted, I may be being too harsh on Mike. Mike was great. I should be being harsher on Sally because Sally Nine was it's gonna haunt me for a while. I think I don't. There's something which I am thankful that I learned a lot about game design by playing that. I know, like I thought about a lot about the idea of like ludology because I'd read these essays in the past that break down and explain like in Mario 1 for the NES, when you introduce obstacles, you introduce them in low stakes environments, typically independent of other obstacles, so that the player can get used to that obstacle and learn what it does. And then once they learn what that obstacle does, when they face it in an environment with other obstacles, they're much more prepared to do it. The problem is if you make a game where the levels are too long and it takes too long to get to the new obstacle, and that obstacle you encounter in a high stakes environment that threatens your death, like then you just die and have to restart, and you're in this weird game where it's less of a game and more of like a rudimentary, mechanically robotic button pressing task game. It's like playing DDR, but to like a way further extent. It was really awkwardly like you're always inching the tug of war line slightly to the right because you can't always see what comes up. The obstacles are never independent of other obstacles, and the obstacles that are there are like just cruel in a sadistic way. Like to not only have a section where you have to evade a bunch of timed spikes, but then you have to like free jump into a moving platform, okay? You introduce the fading block, okay? Never seen it before. Touch it the first time, it fades, you fall. Figures. Then you introduce a moving platform that doesn't only move, but it bounces the player every time they collide with it. So you're on a platform that's moving like along an axis, the x-axis, and then the platform is constantly bouncing you, trying to knock you off of it. Essentially, it's like why would you double down and put those two mechanics together? That's like a horrible mechanic. That is terrible. I don't think that would be fun in any situation because the bottom of the map is you fall off and die. Like for some reason that doesn't seem Johnny to me. That seems like unnecessarily cruel. It's not even like childlike playfulness. It's just like oh my god, you're taking like mechanics that are just painful, and then there's no checkpoints on top of it. Like you can't even like, oh man, it was that game drove me insane, bro. It actually insane. About uninspired/inspired, I think the Johnny series is inspired by Cubist's life and the experiences rather than other media. While Sally, for instance, is inspired by other media, Johnny instead of life. Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. I think that's where Sally misses the mark. And I think in the initial games, it felt like it was kind of trying to be its own thing. But then at different points, it like vacillates between taking pieces of other things that already exist. Like some of them are more Mario elements than others. Some of it feels like a really basic version of Mario Maker sort of thing. Some of it feels like it's trying to pull some of the silliness from Johnny, but without understanding that it's like just about being playful. It's just about doing whatever you think is like fun and playing around with it. It's not something with like an end goal in mind to like do whatever. The only goal is that you have fun while doing the process. And I didn't realize that from just initially playing the Johnnies. Like I expected people would be able to see that aspect of it more clearly. Like playing it, you know, like sometimes it's like, okay, well, this part is annoying or something, or this is silly or whatever. But that's part of the charm of it, is that it is just some guy playing around in random stuff, essentially. I think that's where you get that distinction between uninspired and inspired, is that they're like, is it coming from within, or is it an external thing you're grabbing from everything? And it's not like you can't grab the things externally and then like chew them down and sort of like, you know, feel the flavor and then create your own thing, you know. It just, there was something about it that just felt like more of a shadow of other things. It's hard to explain, but we're gonna show it. I don't think Kim has ever heard of Mario in his life, and that is one of the explanations why the Johnny series is unlike anything else but like a kindergartner dream. That's interesting. I would be surprised if he hadn't heard Mario, just because it's so like distinctly a thing. Like I don't think you can exist on the internet without knowing what Mario is. But I do think that he actively chose to make something more uniquely himself. Even if he had seen Mario, you know, he never like referenced it. He never like made a plumber joke or a pipe like mechanic or anything like that. It was more about just like, oh, this is what I want to do, sort of thing. How about you go and grab a good game? Yeah, maybe that's what I should be doing, Jacob. Maybe I should be playing a good game. No, man. Actually, today we're talking about how to create games like you're a kindergartner. That's actually what we're doing. We're using the skills of adulthood, of understanding how programming works, to create childlike wonder. That's the essence of my stream today. That's what we intend to do. So we'll see if I can accomplish that. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna sit down, and then I'm just going to talk out loud while I program, what I'm doing and hope I find a way to get closer to the essence of what makes a Johnny game Johnny. And when I say that, I don't mean that I'm going to copy everything Johnny does to be like him or more like him. The goal isn't to be more Johnny. It's to take the essence of what makes those games fun, playful sandboxes of childlike creativity and then go from there. That's my goal. Yeah, good idea. Here's where you grab your good games. Nice link plug, Noli. I love that. That was good. That was really good, dude. That's awesome. Cubus, yeah, you can go to cubusforever.com if you want to see the child life Johnny mentioned. Yeah. All right, so here, let's endeavor, let's foray into the main content of today's stream. I'm just gonna work in the sense that I'm going to play with. I have knowledge of how to program. I have knowledge of how these systems work. And I'm just going to ball up all of the conventions and sort of throw it out the window. And whatever fun idea comes to my head, that's what I'm going to do. I have a few fun ideas that I want to do. So we're going to start with that. Well, I'm out. Well, Jacob, you have a great day. And we have more Star Wars to watch. So hopefully we'll do that this week or next week. Paradise of great games. Yeah, we're becoming a PG gamer. It really is a paradise of great games, you know, to throw all that stuff away and just make something good. Okay, so here we go. Let's delve in. So something I recognized last time. Actually, let's do the square thing so you can see the whole thing. I don't want to block any of it. So what I noticed last time is that because I actually grabbed Johnny 21 when I did my initial Game Maker thing. And that's fine, except for the problem that Johnny 21 has a slightly pernicious problem that I don't like. Okay, so the problem with Johnny 21 is you can make all obstacles essentially superfluous. Like it doesn't, you can just ignore everything. That's my problem with it. You can just, I want players to have to use the platforming mechanics. So we need to fix that, first off. So I was looking through the other games, and I wanted to sort of see what Kim did, because I'm in a debate right now. I want to make a Johnny-based project next. Maybe not today, but next is something I want to do. I'm going to make a Johnny-based project where anybody can go into Game Maker, and it's just the base of Johnny, but in the modern Game Maker. Because Game Maker 8.2, I don't know how to use it fully well. The documentation seems there for like some stuff, but it's missing some of the things that I like about Game Maker Studio 2. Or I think it's just called Game Maker now. I'm actually not quite sure. So on Steam, you can go. Game Maker's free now. It's just Game Maker now. Yeah. So you can get Game Maker on Steam. You can get it on their website. It is free. And then you can also get the professional license, which is a one-time fee that lets you export to Windows, Mac, and HTML5, I think. And then I think if you pay $80 a month for Enterprise, you can do the consoles, assuming you have a console thing. Whatever the case, I like the more modern Game Maker. I like this. If I could figure out how to do compiling and there was a little bit better documentation, I could see myself using this. But I think we can replicate Johnny quite well in modern architecture. That's a little bit easier for people to do. Another benefit we have of modern architecture is that like we can just see all of the functions when we roll over them. I can middle click on them for documentation, which will come up in my window over here, and then they have obviously a lot of documentation, which makes it a lot easier to read, especially for newcomers. The only thing I don't like about modern Game Maker is they remove some of the things I like. Like I don't really like these icons here. I think they need a new icon set. It's a little jank. Yeah. Can someone help me clarify? Is Paradise of Good Games what Johnny is trying to defend, or is it the bad guys in the Johnny series? That's a good question. To be honest, I don't think it's ever explained in lore, Brent. It's just we know he's a PG gamer. That's all we know. He's a Paradise of Great Games gamer. I think it's more like a, I don't know. It's like a, I'm going to just assume he's repping his brand, and his brand is Paradise of Great Games. I think that's what it, because he's always wearing a t-shirt that has it on it. That's what I suspect. Johnny template, I like that idea. Yeah, I want to make a Johnny template. That's something I'm going to work on. Not today, but I'm just going to try to distill the essence of a Johnny game. I want to just work on my Johnny fan game, sort of talk through some of the process, and then and then explain like why I think some of these fan games miss the mark. I'm going to link you software that both Jinx, Tengu, and Kim use for drawing. Okay, yeah, please link that. I would love to see what they use for drawing. Um, to be honest, though, Brent, in your Johnny fan game, once I get the template done, you can decide in the lore whether or not you want the Paradise of Great Games to be a place or whatever. It's all up in your hands. That's the best part about it. Um, it's what Johnny is trying to defend. I think Kim is the head of PG Games headquarters, and PG Games was meant to be Kim's abandonware website, but it did not work out, so it's like Kim's company. Okay, gotcha. So maybe in this sense, then, Johnny is trying to defend against the bad games, by being a great game, right? He's destroying all the things that every enemy is some representation of bad games. That's what it has to be. Maybe that's how we're gonna take it. It's all up in the air. Um, okay. Amazing. I have the power to create my Johnny universe. Yeah, I think that's ultimately what's fun about it, right? Because if you just try to grab what's already there and make it, like, you could, using pattern recognition, pretty easily replicate some of the elements, but it would lose the heart and soul that makes a Johnny game a Johnny game. What makes it fun is that it's your authentic, like, sort of unconscious expression of childlike wonder in play. That's kind of how I feel a Johnny game. I downloaded it safe, despite being uploaded by Anonymous. This is not MS Paint for Windows 7. It's specialized by not having anti-aliasing on the graphics. Has destroyed the look. Okay, let's look at it. Okay, MS Paint Windows XP version. Okay, so they just use Windows XP to do all their stuff. Interesting. Okay, I mean, I'll download it. Um, what's in the zip? Okay, I downloaded it. Nice. Are we gonna use it for this? I guess maybe. MS Paint. Look at that. Wow, it just opens up. And these are the colors. Can I zoom in? I can't. Man, it's been forever since I used Paint, dude. How do you make it bigger? Oh, there we go. Ah, yes, the paintbrush. Truly skill of a lifetime. And then nice. Man, I wish I could zoom. Oh, I can zoom. There we go. Nice. Nice. Okay. So what I'm doing here is I'm just drawing whatever comes to mind. I had this masked man idea that I kind of wanted to do. So it's going to be our masked man. Except I need a... To be fair, I could probably still do all this in Game Maker because I at least have the hotkeys for it. But for the sake of the silliness, we'll use MS Paint temporarily here. I think I can make it more dastardly looking. I can't. I gotta just... There we go. Okay, how do I... Okay, let's bring him into Game Maker. We need sprites. I prefer if the sprites are above everything. No, don't put the sprites in the fonts, please. Please, dude, don't do it. Oh, wait, we have to do custom order. That's what it is. Okay. Okay. Do sprites here, and then let's create a new sprite. And then, can I do scale? Nice. Look at that. Okay, and then we can get rid of this. Okay. Yeah, to be fair, it's probably easier to use just this, but if you want the blending mechanics of the original stuff then. Alright, so what are we going to do here? I just want to play with that for a minute. Alright, now. You can zoom in by pressing the looking glass. That's all he uses. Jinx Tengu uses paint. Okay, interesting. He uses unconscious and just drifted his mouse without knowing where it will go. Also try using the built-in circle shapes. The pencil, the smallest, is for the most Kabusian visual. Yeah, actually, let's look at blending. It's been a while since I've seen blending. I think it's like this, right? Or like the isn't there blending or something? He seems to use like a lot of distortion. Can I do any kind of distortion with the original paint? I don't know if I can. Very simple. Very simple. Okay. All he uses is paint, bro. That's pretty wild. Try using the built-in circle shapes. Yeah, that makes sense. He's probably using, you're talking like this? Yeah. To draw these perfect circles with faces and stuff. Although I don't know how to make the line for the circle bigger. Okay. Alright. So we have paint now. We have MS Paint. First thing we need to do, they use Photoshop for distortion or something. Yeah, that's kind of what I figured. 'Cause some of them look like weirdly like they have some effect applied to them. Which I don't think is achievable in base paint. Maybe like paint.net. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is, as I was saying earlier, sorry I got off track. I originally took Johnny 21, and Johnny 21 has a hovering mechanic, because he didn't set it so that you can only jump like either with a limited amount or you can only jump when you're on the ground, whatever. So the problem is that we can trivialize every enemy and obstacle that we have because we can just infinitely jump over it, which may ultimately have been the reason why he made the outside of bounds room thing exist here, where you would get killed if you did that. So the first thing I'm going to do is I looked at Johnny 29, and I noticed that he had an air variable. So when you press up, what happens in the code is it checks if air is equal to 0, and then it allows you to jump and sets air equal to 1. So it's basically like saying, am I in the air? No. Then jump, and then put me in the air. And then I noticed in his colliding with solids, if you collide with a solid, it sets your vertical speed to 0, which is our built-in vertical speed game maker thing, and then sets air to 0. That means we're not in the air anymore. This still allows us to do the head bumping mechanic that I like, but with the added benefit of checking if you're in the air or not. Now I have to debate, first off, let's create a solid block. Base solid. All it's going to be is a 32 by 32 that we're going to extend outwards. This is not going to be a permanent block in the game. It's only going to be for testing purposes because I want to test movement mechanics. So let's start with that first. So we're going to do a little bit of big brainness. So these ladies, we can delete them for now. We'll deal with our thick nymphs later. Man, just rolls off the tongue. Let's get rid of these inconsistent boundaries for now, and then I'm going to be creating we have a parent object, I think, don't we? Oh no, it's just object bar right now. Okay, let's change that. I want to create a parent solid. Now every other solid is going to derive from this solid, so that means that object bar is going to be a oh, I see how you're doing this, Kim. I get it now. He actually does have. So wait, does Johnny collide with bar then? Yeah, okay, sorry. You do have one, Kim, my bad. Let me use this then. Yeah, okay, these derive from that. I'm going to change this to my new sprite here, because that's what I do in Jump Off the Bridge, and then I'm actually going to change the name of object bar to parent solid. Now what this is doing is, in this code, Johnny collides with parent solid. Parent solid is the parent of all of our other solid objects. And what that basically means is that as long as he collides with a child of parent solid, we only need to write this code one time, okay? It doesn't need to be written multiple times. Otherwise, if you didn't have a parent, you would need to make it so that you have a collision code for every single thing. Now, I think for the Johnny template that I do, I'm going to do a mix of these things and then also just putting them all in a step event. Because, like, for example, right, you have key press up here. Okay, that's cool. It works great for what we're doing for a simple Johnny template. Problem is that if you want to do gamepad support or something like that in the future, which, you know, I don't know if you're going to do gamepad support for your Johnny game, but it's something I would consider for accessibility purposes, right? This is that balancing of the logic versus the playfulness of childhood. So you probably don't want to use a key press event up. Because otherwise you also got to do, is there a key press for joystick? I don't think there is. Yeah. So like instead of doing key press up here, you could just do if, what is it, like keyboard check? Yeah, keyboard check pressed. And then you could do VK up. And then we can have all the up code here in our step event. And then this would be much more manageable too, because then also we could do a gamepad thing, for example. So we could do if, what is it, gamepad, button check pressed. And then we could do up, whatever that ends up looking like here too. And that means that we can do both rather than just, because this is only going to check whenever key press is up. So I think for the template, I'm going to do a mix of both. I might do a template with these and then a template with the actual programming to make it a little bit easier. For now, we're just going to stick with this because it's simple. You can see it. You can read it. No big deal. I'm also going to start changing the code over to just slightly some of the more conventions that I use to make it more readable for me. I prefer like spaces between stuff so I can see it better. I also like to start a few lines down so it's kind of like more in the middle. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to fix the jumping because I don't like how the jumping works. So the first thing we have to do for the jumping is check whether we're in the air or not. And to do that, we're going to use our new solid that we created. So we're going to do the solid here. Cool thing about the modern game maker is you can take any platform that you have and just make it any size straight in the editor. The ability to grab stuff is a lot better in this game maker. So we'll do some big platforms here. And there's something I'm really keen on testing is I really want to test our ability to hover. That is very important to me. The hovering mechanic in Johnny is a very important mechanic to me. Personally, because that's some of the most fun I had playing the Johnny game. Let's also do a wall because I want to make sure our vertical still works consistently, jankily Johnny. That's important as well. Okay, so we're going to have that to test. Let me catch up with chat. I heard Saint's Johnny 32 background was just a Photoshop filter. Oh, okay, interesting. Speculation on his creative process. Bug? Haha, that feels funny. I'll keep it in and develop a game from there on. Yeah, that's probably a really great explanation of it. Morning, Hammer. How are you? How are you doing? How's your day going? After watching a Holocaust movie, so I might join the stream every now and then. Okay, no problem, Noli. Thank you for showing up at all, and I appreciate it. I'm going to be jumping in and out. I don't think it'll be a super long stream today. I'm probably going to do like 2 to 3 hours, and we're going to go from there. So we'll see. You can use that instead of 2 if statements. Yeah, or instead of that. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I usually use, so I know that it looks like it. So in this thing here, I have, I'm using some of the old code, and then I was also for readability typing out or instead of using that. I also use, like, in my own code, I use, like, that for and then I use that for or. So, thank you, Hammer, though. I appreciate it. I know it's usually doing that. It's just, for readability's sake and for, like, teaching new people, it makes more sense to just type or since GameMaker supports it, and it's colored, and also to type and because it's easier for people to see. That's how it should be. Well, it depends on what you're using, Hammer. But for teachability, no, I agree. I understand what you're saying. I would pull up jump off the bridge, but it'd take too long to load, so I'm not going to bother with that right now. Okay, so first off, let's test what we, actually, first off, we're going to add the air mechanic. So you'll notice in here, I said when you collide with the bar, we set air to 0. So I want to replicate some of the playful simplicity of Johnny without having to go in and program a bunch of move code. But I want to remove the hovering ability, so that's how we're going to do it. So we're going to do if colliding with parent solid, in air equals false. I'm calling it in air because that makes more sense to me. And then we got to make sure that we define in air up here. So in air equals false to start. So if we're if we're in air, it's false. Yeah, we're not in air because we're touching that, right? That makes sense. And then for keyboard press up, then we're doing if we're not in air equals false. Well, actually, it should be true, right? We should just do true. So you can't jump right when you start. Yeah, that's probably a better way to do it. Okay, so if we're in the air at the start, because we're just going to drop Johnny in randomly. It doesn't really matter right now. So we drop him in. He's in the air. And then when he collides with this, he's not in the air. And then when we press up, if in air equals false, we can set the V speed to 25. I think that basically replicates the preventing the infinite. Nope. Oh. In air equals true. That's why. So once we jump, we set it to in air equals true. Yep, there we go. So now we can only do this. But then we should be able to still do our, yep, okay, we still have the jank head mechanics, which is what I want. Okay, so we can't infinitely jump anymore, but we still have the head bop mechanics. Great. And their beautiful jankness. And then I still have my shrink, which I can edit to make better. And we have our nose. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Perfect. It's exactly the jank I want. Let's get rid of that level transition for now. Okay, so we got that. Let's make sure it works on the underside of this too. The closest game to... Oh yeah, what is air? Oh, how long does it take to load jump off the bridge? I can show you, actually. I'll show you. It just takes a little bit. Not too long, but it takes a little long. What is air? That's a great question. In the Johnny games, air is a philosophical meta comment. So here, I'm loading up jump off the bridge. Let's see how long it takes to load. It shouldn't take that long, but we'll see. And then it takes, I think, like a minute or two to compile with the modern compiler or something like that. Luckily, GameMaker has been improving their compiler like again and again and again and again, so it actually makes it quite easy. Air is an illusion. Yeah, in the Johnny series, it's an illusion. So you can see, do I have any examples of OR in my code? I should, somewhere. Oh, actually, for the sake of argument, too, let's show in my player here. Yeah, you can see I use the AND, the conventional AND, and conventional OR. But to show you how I did movement mechanics, the reason I would do the left press so here the only difference is instead of doing if checked, what I'm doing is I'm just storing whatever the keyboard check is into a variable, and then I'm checking that variable later. But you'll notice it's a little bit more complicated, and that's because I'm checking, is the controller on? Are we using the controller? If we aren't, use keyboard mechanics. And then I store each of these into a variable. In the same way, I have the same variables for the controller, so then when I go to check it, I only have to check left press. I don't have to check controller left press. I don't have to check keyboard left press. I can do that. So pretty simple. Yeah, screenshotting. Leak. Yeah, 20 years later. Super useful. Dude, if anybody wants to use these jank mechanics to create their game, go for it, brother. It's gonna be hard work. Gonna be an uphill battle. The closest game dev in creative philosophy to Kim, though not as childlike, is Jake Clover. Gotcha. Yeah, I think Jake Clover is balancing, at least from the one game I did play recently, of his. I think he balances it pretty well. It's very interesting. Neat and clean. I like it. Yeah, I don't know if it's not all of it is neat and clean, but I've worked a lot in the player move script. So even if Johnny's program is easy, drag and drop, the thing is, no one has ever before really made a game that feels like Johnny to control and move on, even in the same engine. Yeah, I don't. I'm curious to see if the fan games retain some of the silly movement that I like of the Johnny game. And we can edit our movement to make it better. But man, do I love this. Also, the other thing I wanted to check is if we still have. Yeah, we still have our. These are the two mechanics I really love. This ability to ascend the platform here, although I don't know why. It must be because I moved at a certain distance. I can't quite get to the edge of that. I would like to be able to get to the edge of that. So maybe that's something we'll program in. But the move is so jank and quite my favorite. Alright, so let's see. We can still stop against a wall. Yep, this is so quintessentially Johnny. I absolutely adore this movement. This is exactly what I want to be able to do. As an avid Johnny player, that's what I want to be able to do. Well, sorta. It's commented nicely. Well, thank you, Hammer. I appreciate that. I am, I don't know if I consider myself much of a programmer. But I do get better by the day. I do get better by the day. Alright, so now that we have, our quintessentially Johnny movement mechanics, it's time to have fun. So what are we gonna do? We're going to. So this level is from a Johnny level, but I want to add like a campsite. Actually, is probably my first thing. So let's duplicate this. Let's make a campsite. I'm just gonna because this game's gonna be about Johnny going camping is what I want to do. So, all right, mate, it's bedtime. Oh, another idea: get Johnny profile picture I recommended from Johnny32. Yeah, I can look at that. Johnny32, get the profile picture. Get it for what, though? All right, mate, it's bedtime for me. Have a great day, dude. Have a great day, Brent. You can catch up on this on the archive channel. Thank you for the segue, Brent. Appreciate that. If you want to visit all past streams, you can check on the archive channel, and you can see them there. And have a great night, Brent. Thank you for coming out. That's an idea for a level, though. Make it so you have to do that jank to go backwards like that. Yep. Don't worry. We got plans. The childlike creativity, that's what we're aiming. Only accessible by doing that. That's some of the beauty of the Johnny game is you got to do all that jank to get to where you want to go. All right, so the first thing I want to do is I actually want to create fire. So here what I want to do is I actually want to keep our fire colors consistent. So let's grab these. I actually don't know if I like this orange, I'm going to be honest. So let's change it a little bit. There we go. Is that better? I don't think so. How about this? I kind of like that a little bit better. Okay. So let's grab these orange colors and make sure we have them. And then I'll grab our wood nymph color. She's going to be the color of wood consistently for our game. And then we're going to make a fire. So let's create a sprite. I think I can do like 150 by 100. Let's make a fire. Grab our colors. And part of what makes a Johnny game is just sort of not worrying about that inner critic. Just sort of feeling it out. Nothing has to be perfect. You just gotta have fun with it. Okay. Then we can add some shading too. Did I use the wrong color? Oh, there we go. Okay. Use the darker color instead of the lighter one. Okay. Let's add some shading. Sort of give this a little bit more depth. That's what I want to do. I think for a lot of the process, you can sort of just do it and then invite the critic back later to do the rest of the stuff. Like, hey, I need to sit down and check whether or not this worked. Okay, well then we're like, okay, invite the critic to the table and then just go from there. We could also add some variation in the log here, since Bark has a sort of line. Actually, let's use the line tool. That's kind of what I'm feeling. Okay. And we can add some knots too. This is wood is imperfect and natural in its own way. Let's add some more variation to our fire here. Okay. We can add some branches coming from logs because there never are perfect cylindrical objects. Okay, we can also do a branch coming out here. That. I feel like I want this scooted closer. Nice. And then let's add some more variation to sort of give some depth here. Okay, kind of looks like a makeshift fire. Should I do this filled in? No, I don't think so. Let's just fill in a little bit more here. So it looks like a series of twigs and other things. And we can also fill into that. Okay, looks like a fire pit of some sort. This looks a little too consistent, so let's bring it in here like that. And then, there we go. Okay, I'm gonna go with that. So now that we have our little fire pit, oh, we could add rocks too. I didn't think about that. Let's add rocks. Add another layer. Let's add rocks. Okay, got some generic looking circle rocks. And now we have their depth. Let's grab the right color here. Sort of add some variation to them just slightly. Define their lines a little bit. And all this is just play. Okay. The darkest parts between these rocks are going to be where they collide with each other. And then we can add some sort of rockiness to it. Okay, and obviously, you know, you can change the shape of the rocks too. They don't all got to be circular. Okay, and then the rocks have been there a long time, so as always, green moss. Can we get a, there we go, rocky moss sort of color. And we can name this layer rocks. Cool. Let's make a moss layer. Moss. Okay, and let's sort of have it, it doesn't need to be perfect. We can use my favorite, the dithering effect here. Typically they're like splotches that sort of radiate outward in different ways. Let's dither it here, because it's lighter over there. Okay. Looks pretty good. Do some little bits of it here and there. Okay. Looks good. Now we have our fireplace. This we can label wood. Interesting color choice. And then we can also make the fire now. Fire. And so we grabbed our fire colors earlier. So let's have that here. And then let's make fire. Actually, fun idea that my brain came up with. What if I just try to smear it like this? Sort of created our own paintbrush here. It's an interesting effect. Kind of silly. Let's mess it up a little bit. And then let's take the single thing and sort of chop into it a little bit and see what we can't get out of it. What if I sort of play with the color individually now? Okay. Honestly, let's extend it down, give it a little bit more like it's here, not just floating above it. Actually, we need a bigger brush. Let's do bigger. It might be too big. How about this? There we go. Okay, I kind of like that. Looks cool. All right, let's duplicate this frame. Let's delete that. Let's grab our brush again, and let's try to make a second frame to our fire animation here. So we can use onion skinning, which allows us to see basically the back of what we had initially. And so let's, I want to do 3 frames of the fire. 3 is an important number to me. So let's have fun with it. Okay. Actually, I'd like some sort of flickering in this direction. So let's try to do that. And then before I refine that, let's get rid of this here. And let's make a small one. So it sort of recedes, grows, recedes a little bit. Maybe we'll figure something out over there. Actually, we can show the continuation of the animation up here in different ways. I think something like that might work. We'll see how it looks. All right, without the onion skin, what do we got? Okay, so our speed's a little too fast. Let's do 15 frames a second. Let's do it by half. Okay, looks okay. What if we do something slower? What about faster? 10 looks okay. What about 7? Can we split the difference? Okay, 7 looks better. All right, now let's refine this a little bit more. Let's cut it up. Let's sharpen some of these flickers. Change it around a little bit. Just have fun with it, honestly. That's the important thing. Our goal is not perfect. It's just to play around. Sort of see what we're capable of while also finishing something. The important thing is to finish. Let's make a bigger brush, actually. There we go. We want progress over perfection in this avenue here. Because it's cool having a bunch of ideas, but if they never tangibly render anything, then that's not cool. And you're just stuck in potential, so. And that's a horrible place to be. For your self-esteem and other things. Okay, it looks cool. We got a lot more islands in this one here. So let's try to get some big blocks of color. That's what I want. Just big blocks of color. There we go. Nice. Okay, and then this one. Let's sort of work our way out here. Fire winds and turns and flicks and nips at the air. That's kind of what I want to do here. Just get some of that there. Maybe. Yeah, okay. We can work with that. And I'm kind of radiating outward as far as color goes, but it doesn't have to be perfect. We can just mess around with it. I know that there are different colors for like what's the hottest part of a fire and what isn't. But as long as we give the basic illusion of what fire looks like, then I'm going to consider that complete in my book. Give some little flickers and wisp off to the side as the fire tries to get as much air as possible. Okay, and we delete this little brush we use for the rest of it. And then we play it. Look at that, kind of looks like fire. Look at that, sweet. Has its own unique identity. Something else we can do too, I don't think we need to do more than that. But something else we could do too is we could, based on the fire, we can make the rocks. Actually, let's see what that would look like. It doesn't really matter what I do here, but let's have some fun. Highlight. So, I don't know if this is going to necessarily work, but okay, let's grab this, and then what? We would make it yellow or something? I don't know what my brain is trying to tell me to do. Maybe we do that. Let's see how that looks. So then could I, do like a highlight where the fire edge is? Is that what you're suggesting I do? Is that, I mean, we could try it. No harm in trying things. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm still making something, so that's all I really care about. How does that look? Looks a little weird. I don't know if I like it. Oh, we tried. What about the rocks? Can we do something for the rocks then? So if we yellow the rocks here, like what if I sort of did like a highlight over here or something like that? Does that look? Nah, it looks too green. Okay, we don't need it. I like our fire. Sweet. And we can add our fire now into the game. SPR campfire. Keep my naming conventions. Let's go to room 2 now. And we can sort of, we got to create a fire object as well. Create object, campfire, and then we apply our sprite we just made to it. Cool. And we can add effects for that later. For now, let's make the base of what we kind of want our thing to look like here. So I actually kind of want like a stable ground here. And we're going to put a tent on it, and Johnny's going to be over here. And perhaps, since we're entering the woods, it is a descension into the woods. So at some point, we'll make like a custom wavy path, and then the woods descend further out. It's hilly, it's rocky, it's mountainous. So you had to descend to get into the woods, and he'll have to descend to get into them more. Okay, so now we can place our fire here. Looks good. Perhaps we move it over to the right more. We can change the background later. It doesn't matter right now. And then the other thing we're going to do is we're going to set the hitbox of this. Maybe we'll do something fun with that. So let's make the hitbox of the fire just the flame. Yeah, that's good. Do the flame itself. Okay. All right, and let's catch up with chat. So, game ideas. Johnny gets attacked by zombies while going to a restaurant or to school. Interesting. It is extremely hard to authentically replicate childlike creativity, but possible. Make the fire Satanicus. That's a funny idea. Draw something very scary like this. Some inspiration. All right, let's take a look at the inspiration board. So cubisforever.com. You got images. Okay, let's see here. Yeah, didn't you have a gallery or something on this website? How'd you get to it? Click here to exit the rest of the site. Artwork. The green reptile, is that the thing you were trying to link me? The fading ghost. All right, so here's our inspiration. Let's try to make something more Kabusian next. So painting, wonder bar, fading ghost, green reptile, candy monster, monster under the stairs. We could try. We could surely try. The clown one was a scary one. The clown. Oh yeah, I remember the clown. Clown is creepy looking. I'd have to make something scary to myself. What would be scary to me? Let's name this the monster. It should be 100 tall and 200 tall. Let's see squares actually. I think I need it wider. For some reason I was like, maybe a centaur. Can even do the somewhere eyes too. Maybe I don't like the nose at all. I feel like it needs some more. I don't know. I don't know if I like this body shape here. Maybe I'd do like a bug-like satyr thing. Does that look scarier or? Good question. Looks like, I mean, bug would be inverted, I guess. What if I just? I kind of like this pleasing diamond here. It's oddly satisfying. Perhaps the arms just need some refinement. Inconsistent number of fingers. Oh, that's what we can do. We can do parts missing. Let's thicken up this line here. I don't know. Something unique, for sure. Scary, not sure. Perhaps a triangular head would be... No, that does not look more intimidating. Or Boxian. The harder edge. Inconsistently. Oh yeah, I like that more. Nice. Look at that. Might be too consistent. Kind of weird looking. Scary. Try using MS Paint for graphics. Also, GameMaker 8.2 better. I mean, GameMaker 8.2 is the similar, I don't know, GameMaker 8.2 is similar in sprites. I mean, it's basically the same things. The only extra benefit we get is we can add outlines to it and glow. Another good idea my brain supplied me with is oh, actually I want a diamond. Let's do a diamond. Diamond is satisfying. Let's do like that. Yeah, perfect. Oh, I want this here. Okay, and then we remove it. Awesome. And then maybe we can do some kind of heart-like thing here. How would I do a heart? I guess I'll just take it piece by piece. It's sort of like a series of circles or something. Yeah, there we go. More like that. Okay, and then we can add some heart-like definition. Okay, and then there's like the big veins, I think, that come out the top or something. Pump blood to the rest of the system. I think there's things on the bottom too. It's been a while since I looked at anatomical heart, but honestly, it doesn't matter. This is my conventional world. We'll do whatever we want. I can have as many veins as I'm looking for. Some of them could be more darker and purplish. When I made there's a recipe I really like that I came up with for chili that uses beef heart in it. And when you're preparing the beef heart, it has like a lot of these like silvery like things on it that you gotta cut off, and it's like impossible to cut. Like the heart is an incredibly strong organ, like disgustingly strong. Okay, honestly, I kind of like it. It's a little weird, but maybe it needs thicker arms. Oh yeah. So, there we go. Yeah, leave the inconsistencies. It looks cool. Perhaps this hand needs to be lower, though. It just looks fat and weird. Not weird in a scary way, just weird in a not intimidating way. There we go. But the problem is it's too conventional. It would look scarier if it made less sense. It kind of looks weird. Kind of looks weird. We'll leave it for now. Looks kind of creepy. Johnny 29 is so funny looking. Yeah, dude, he looks really funny, dude. He is really funny looking. Well, I love how simple his graphics are. His legs are so derpy looking. He's pretty glorious. I accidentally opened up my thing there. Kabusian is more color, less detail. Yeah, I agree. I think more color for sure would be more Kabusian. In that case, let's make the teeth white. Would that help? Nah, I actually like the black teeth better. Should be more color, less detail. But I like the detail, so I like the detail. It's interesting to me. Honestly, I'm gonna leave it. We'll do something else later. This guy's kind of creepy. Perhaps you can only shoot this aspect of him or something. I don't know. This caged-in heart. I kind of like that. It's cool. It's weird and uniquely strange in its own way. So there we go. Okay, cool. I'm sticking with this. But yeah, I do agree. Yeah, more color for sure. Kim definitely played a lot with color. Significantly so. Okay, we have another monster. I don't know what I'm going to do with him yet. I also wanted to draw a dragon too, but here, let's take a look at our glorious campsite. Oh wait, we can actually use our room end thing, which is, yeah, wind mask. Let's just name this Blue next room, because that's all it does. I'm pretty sure it just oh, his collision is not in here. It's in here. Yep. You collide with this, increases your score, and then goes to room next. We can change that better later, but for now, we can just use that to go to the next room. And now remember, Johnny is not a persistent variable, so what that means is that he's going to, his code is not going to remain the same between rooms. So, oh, we went to room title instead of room next. Why did we go to room title? Let's delete room title. I don't need room title. And let's check this thing. Room go to next. Let's look at room stuff. Oh, room go to next. And then, okay, well, we can, how do I want to do that? So a way that I do it and jump off the bridge is I actually make each one of these go to like a specific room. So like, for example, in the creation code of this, I would say, which is probably what we'll end up doing. It makes more sense. It does make more sense to do it that way. Let's, can we, yeah, we can go in creation code and then target room equals room 2. And then now we can go inside object next room in the create event. Target room equals no one. So it equals nothing right now. And then when Johnny collides with it, we'll do with other, which is going to be the thing he's colliding with. So you see here he's colliding with next room. Other in this case is referring to the thing he's colliding with. And then we're going to room go to, and instead of next, we're going to go to target room. So now how this works is when we say the with command, we are saying that from within this object, from within object next room, so now we're entering the scope of the room object. That's how we're able to access target room, and we're using that in order to go to. Okay, so like for example, let's use the with command in like a form of how do I explain this? You guys ever see that movie Inception or whatever, where they go through like the multiple things? Okay, so now from within the scope of this guy, we can actually get back to Johnny too if we did with other. And then now we could access Johnny's variables. So Johnny's got a bunch of variables. Let's say we made the shrink do something. So we could do shrink equals false. Okay. So now this is Johnny's code right here. So this is Johnny. So we're in Johnny here. And then within this with command, we're inside the win mask for next room. Okay. So that's where we're accessing this variable. So this is a function, room go to. You can middle click on it to get more information about it or roll over it. Target room is a variable inside object next room. You'll see object next room here. This is created, and we have target room equals no one. We're setting the target room in the actual room itself, creation code. So when this is created in creation code, within this room, I click creation code. The target room is set to room 2. So that's how that works. And then within Johnny, we're colliding with that. And so then you can see with other for Johnny, we're setting a shrink. And then if I did with other again, now we're going back to the win mask. So this is the win mask again. You can see this one's Johnny. It shows you which one you're using with New Game Maker. But we could do this infinitely, inception, back and forth, like all the way down, as many as we wanted if we really needed to. But we don't need to right now. So we're just going to do when colliding with next room, go to target room, which I said again is defined in the creation code here. What this means is this object in just this room has room 2 set to target room. Otherwise, if I just place the object in the room, it naturally has no creation code, but we're making an exception for this one to be specific. Okay? So actually, if we wanted to be better programmers about this, what we could do is instead of room go to target room, we could say if target room does not equal no one. So that means if it doesn't have nothing, then go to target room. Okay? And so now we can, if target room does not equal no one, then we go to the room. So now we can check. We can check to make sure the game doesn't crash. So we can set a target right here. This one is not defined. This one is defined. And then we'll just run through it. Okay, so this one shouldn't do anything. Yep, because there's no room to go to. And this one will bring us to the room. Look, and then we have a room at our campfire. And the beautiful campfire it is. Glorious. Next thing we can do is we can start adding layers, okay? So you kind of want to get the layers defined a little bit early, because then if we're duplicating each room from whatever we had, then it'll still be, the layers. So I don't know what this compatibility color layer is, so we're going to delete that. And then, are these both the same? Oh, I have to click on that. Okay, delete compatibility color for that. Okay, let's go back to room 1. So we have a background. Let's just rename this as background. Okay, let's rename it here as background. This is going to be a lot easier to do early on in your project. You can obviously make this less uniform later, but for the sake of argument, we're going to do it now so it's easier for us later. Okay, let's make a player layer. It's very important that we have a player layer, and then we're going to move things on the correct layers. That's also one of the advantages of GameMaker. Modern GameMaker is we can see these layers and we can go from there. So right now, player is an instance layer, so you see we have all of our platforms on the same layer as the player. We don't necessarily want that. Let's create a solids layer. We can put that below the player. I'm going to do the same thing for this one. Create a solids layer. Rename solids. Okay. And then we can make a above player layer. Just for things above the player. That's what we're going to do. And put that above the player. So you can see it is organized so that anything up above, topper in the hierarchy, is going to be above the previous thing. So we start with the background, then we have solids, and then these. And we'll move everything to the right layers in a second. So let's create this. Rename above player. Okay. So now we have the player here. So a cool thing we can do is we can zoom out here, copy all this, press Control X, and then we can paste it on the solids. Look at, we just moved it all over. Campfire, I want to be above the player because we're going to make it interactable, and I want that to happen. Now for this one, we can zoom out. The reason I'm zooming out is to make sure all of the solids go in the same place they did. Otherwise, sometimes they mess up a little bit. Not a big deal. Then the next room stuff, we're actually going to put on the solids layer for now. And then players on that, and there's nothing above the player in this room yet. Probably another layer we're going to want an enemies layer. Enemies. So let's do that. And then we can add other layers as we need them for other stuff. I think that's pretty much the general stuff. We'd probably want a bullets layer too, to make the bullets actually go on its own layer. Bullets. And let's add a bullets layer for this one. Because when you're making a game, sometimes the visibility is important. So you don't want the bullets to be going under enemies. You don't want them to be going under things. You want all the bullets typically on the topmost layer so that you can see them visually. That is important. So now we have this, and solids. I can actually do a below player layer too. I'm just adding a few of them from that I think I'm going to need. You don't really need all of these. It's just whatever you want to use. Just for my general sanity, I'm creating some layers that I think will be useful to me later, because the player is kind of like everything radiating out from him. Like, do we want things above him? Do we want things below him? You can obviously add layers later, no problem. But as far as like in code, if we're referencing a layer, if it already exists in every room, then we don't have to worry about the game crashing, right? Like if I'm in Object Johnny and I'm like doing layer equals a layer that doesn't exist, like solids unsolid or something, then like it's gonna crash. If room 2 has a copy of that layer and room 1 doesn't, then it's gonna crash in room 1. So that's kind of why you want to keep that a little bit consistent. So for the record, and then now we can so now since things are on different layers, we can't easily grab everything all the time. We have to know what layer it's on, which makes it also easier to pick things up. I can click on the solids layer, click this. If you don't know what a thing is on, you can click select from any layer. And so now when I click anything, I'll be grabbing anything from any layer, no matter what it is if I click on it. But we leave this off by default because I only want to grab stuff from the specific layer I'm on. Okay, pretty straightforward. Now, I kind of want to do a, what do I want to do next? I'll think about it. Building a Johnny screen map is like sitting on a boring lesson in school and drawing Mario levels in your notebook instead, then moving your finger through them as if the finger is a character. think that's a good way to put it. Like, right? Like you're in a boring lecture and you're just letting your mind wander and you're making whatever. It should just be playful and random. I like that. I think my Johnny game is going to retain some of the silliness of it, but I know I'm gonna make a Johnny game that is uniquely me as well. And that's something I want in a Johnny game is I want it to be unnecessarily complicated at first glance. I think that would be really funny. So I'm gonna play around with that concept. Like we already have the simplicity of this jank game, but what would make it even funnier if it was even more jank. In that there was just so many options that you would just get like analysis paralysis from figuring out how you're gonna do it. Also, I can probably work on the shrink a little bit better. So right now, our shrink gets us stuck in this platform, which is a Johnny mechanic in some sense. But what I don't like is I can't move, and that kind of frustrates me. I'd like the shrink to be more consistently, you know, like a thing. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna solve this problem. So when we press S for the shrink, okay, and we're going from small size to big size, here's what we're going to do. So we're going to do so this is unshrink, and this is if shrink is false and nosin is true, then we make ourselves small. So shrink, this is shrink, and then this is also if shrink is false and nosin is true. This sets us to shrink as well. So both of these shrink. So the unshrink is actually what we're going to do here. So we have in our step event, we have unshrink. So you'll notice from the previous thing, we have it set so that if unshrink is true, it brings us back to our normal thing. Cool. Problem is here is that we get stuck in the ground. So what I want to do, because I like the jank. I like some of the jank of Johnny, but I don't like that I can't. I mean, I know some levels were solved by doing that very thing. Yeah, I don't know. How do I want to do that? I could add jank in two ways, I think. That's a way to do it. I could add jank in two ways. Because in the future Johnny game, something they did was they moved him up by like 100 pixels when he would shrink. So how do I want to do? I could add some really silly jank. Oh, let's play with it. Let's see what my vision looks like and see if that works. So what I want to do is I want to do if place meeting our parent solid. So if we're meeting parent solid with our x and y, sorry, forgot about that. So what place meeting does is it just checks, it moves Johnny to whatever the designated coordinates are and checks if we're meeting with parent solid. And parent solid is going to be all of our solid objects at some point. So when we unshrink, the problem we're having is that he's stuck here and he can't move because he's constantly colliding with parent solid, which is setting our v speed to 0. So we can't move, and we can't go left or right either because our v-speed is 0. Sorry. Yeah, that's exactly what's happening. Why can't we move, though, when we tap the button, though? Good question. I'm not exactly sure. Because theoretically, we should be able to move, right? Even if we're moving. It must be something built. Oh, it must be because this is solid, right? Yeah, it's because this is solid. Solid instances will automatically be placed in their previous position when in collision. It must be because a GameMaker is built in solid. I might program my own solid system after, but for now, let's just use what we have here. So, in the step event, if we're meeting a solid, my thought was check above is what I want to do. I want to check above us. If above us we're not meeting, how would I do that? That's a great question. I guess I could check like 100 pixels above us. If we're not meeting anything above us, then while place meeting x, y. Yeah, maybe what I got to do. So we got to do and place meeting x, y, parent solid. Okay, so right now if we're not meeting 100 pixels above us, but we are meeting currently, then while we are meeting the solid, I want to y minus. So this means that if I'm stuck in something, but I'm free in the air above me, I'm gonna move upwards until that happens. Let's see if that works. I don't know if that'll work. It did not work. Probably because it's more than 100 pixels above us. What if I interesting. Okay. So let's do 200 pixels above us. And let's see. If not meeting 200 above us. Actually, does this set our... It should. Yeah. Because we're setting shrink to this, and we're setting the sprite, right? Yeah, okay. Unshrink equals true. Where am I setting the Johnny's sprite? Is it here? If shrink is false and nose is true, small and nose. Make the nose smaller, set the sprite, shrink it. Yeah, we're gonna have to do some kind of animation code later, but we still don't get that unshrink here. Okay, so now we can use debugging for the first time. So Modern Game Maker has debugging. So how that works is we're going to go into our step event. We're going to click to the left of here to set a breakpoint because I want to see if this is even being triggered. I want to make sure this is being triggered. So the game will stop when it reaches this, and it'll stop when it reaches this. And then we click the little bug, debug. So now how this works, we allow it to run. Now we're checking. So that it's running. You can tell it's running because it has FPS of 8,000, and this green thing is active connection to game. So now what's going to happen is we're going to shrink, and we're going to press the button to unshrink, which freezes the game, and it brings us to here. So we are unshrinking. Okay, so place meeting. So let's see if we even hit this at all. Okay, we do hit this, and our Y is, it should be going, okay, so let's see how many times this runs. It runs a lot. It moves us quite a bit. But why does it feel like it's not moving me at all after? Okay, so let's remove the breakpoint. So this is running, but we haven't moved up at all. Why is that? So we're small. We're big. It runs this. Our Y is not minusing. Why is it not minusing? So it's 333. Something is resetting our Y value. It's because our Y is going up here. And it's running a crap ton. Okay, let's click here to see when we finish that. So Y is 315 now. Oh, actually, can we see if we get out of it? Let's play. 311. Oh, is it move? Okay, so perhaps it's because we're still tiny. That's the problem. Right? It's got to be the problem. I see slightly us moving. Something resets our Y. I wonder what it is. The jank of debug. I feel like because, actually here, let me check something. Let's check if we're actually in the Johnny sprite we want to be in. I suppose we can try that. Or perhaps maybe I should do this in the end step. Let's do it in the end step and see if that fixes it. So we're going to, instead of being in the step event, since I don't know when these key presses are triggering, that's also the problem with doing key presses here, is I don't know when they're triggering. I don't know if they're before the step or they're after the step. So let's just put this in the end step. Let's create end step. That's like after animations. It's after step. We know it's after step. Let's see if that changes anything. So now we get small, we get big. Look at there, it works now. Okay, so the key presses must be happening in the step event or otherwise. So now I don't get stuck when I shrink. at all. I probably can make it 100 pixels instead of 200. Let's see what that looks like. Make sure that works. Now, this introduces some problems to our game, though. Some interesting problems. The first problem being that if I'm on a thin platform like this, let's say I have a big nose here. Actually, I may be able to get up through the platform because it detects that it's free above me, you know? Because I'm checking 100 pixels up. So if for some reason that's free, I should actually teleport up above the platform, which is not necessarily what we want. So it depends on my skill and ability here, but typically we're never going to be on a platform that's thin enough that we could go through, but it is possible. So it does introduce an interesting glitch for later. But I'm going to leave it because that sounds funny. And if somebody figures that out, then more power to them. Okay, let's see if I can... Yeah, I don't know. Okay. It also may cause some other problems later. We'll see. Man, I love this nose mechanic. It's my favorite. Yeah, okay, so that still works. This still works. All it's doing is that when we unshrink, it's checking if we're above here. So I can do this. I swear, okay, maybe if the platform is 16 by 16, it depends how big Johnny is, actually. Let's try a 16 by 16 platform. I swear that would work. So right now, this is 32 by 32, right? So let's do... yeah, let's do half the scale. So can we do 16 by 16? And let's do a thinner platform. And then let's also do a thin platform down there. And you should be able to theoretically, if my theory is correct, teleport through this. Assuming that I've given them enough distance to even do that. We'll see. So if I'm going under here, yeah, see? Because of my code now, 16 by 16 platforms can be teleported through. But that's kind of funny. And it's a lot easier than I thought. But, like, you can just... Assuming that you're... Yeah, you can't go by 32 by 32 ones. But because of my programming solution, I've introduced a new bug. And notice how another problem we're having here is that if we're falling, yeah, we're sometimes still getting stuck in the platform because it's not free 100 pixels above us. And that's because we're changing the size of our sprite. It's a little jank, but it could be funny. Shrink and large acceleration skip is the best mechanic in the whole series. Yeah, I think that some of the shrinking and enlarging skipping is pretty funny, and I still think I'm retaining some of the humor with it by making it like this. I don't like when I'm on a platform like this and I go small that I get stuck in it. I want to be able to like shrink and then move, you know. I want jank, but I don't want too much jank, I guess. I want it to still be like relatively playable. Some of the awkwardness about the code is that we're not applying a speed to Johnny. He's actually just teleporting pixels, which is why he hops like this, because he's always hopping up. But because of that code, we're able to do this absolutely silly platform hovering thing, which I really like. I love this platform hovering thing. So I want to keep that aspect of it, but I want to remove, you know, the other thing. I can even do a boundary so that he doesn't necessarily always clip in like this, but I'll leave it for now. I like the silliness of that. So it works pretty good. I feel like the nose needs to be actually longer. It's not big enough to do kind of the jank that I want to do with it yet. So we are going to make the nose bigger, I think. It needs to be longer-ish. And then we have our bullets still work, and we can change into the fire bullets. Something about the bullets is that they change direction based on what you were shooting, and that doesn't work currently, so we need to fix that. Johnny games pretty much always have orthogonal bullet direction. You cannot strafe, although we can add strafing in, which would also be funny. To be honest, my Johnny game should be as complicated as possible, so having a strafe button is really funny to me. I'm going to do that. Cheap viewers, that's not attractive. They should advertise cheap game making tools instead. Honestly, you're right, Noli. You're completely right. Yeah, to be honest, I don't like the idea of saying cheap viewers if you're going to advertise like cheap viewers, because then it just sounds like the viewers themselves are, cheap. They're not. Like, what? Why would I want cheap viewers? In the attention economy of the modern day, the most important thing is engagement. It's not views, it's not numbers, it's not arbitrariness like that. The most important thing, hands down, is the engagement of the people that you're with. Because it's cool if you got 10 million followers, but if you only get one comment or like 10 likes on your thing, then your 1 million followers aren't really a million actual actively engaged people. They're just, it's a nothing burger basically. And I think that's something that a lot of people lose sight of, is building a community and having engagement is much more important than arbitrary numbers for something. All right, so we need to fix our bullets. Now, how this works in the original Johnny decompiles that I looked at is that he stores, based on the direction we hit, the dir. Okay, now because I made the dir not a global variable, we have problems that we need to fix. So I'm going to make it more complicated because I think it'd be funny. So here's what we're going to do. So we're going to do a key so for our key presses, we have left. Yeah, here, let's look at this. Let's break it down. Let's see what Kim had cooking, and then I'm going to add some things to our proverbial pie here. All right, so yeah, I see it. I see the vision, Kim, but I'm going to do something slightly different. Okay, so here, first off, kind of funny that for whatever reason, for right, he puts the dir above right, and then for left, he puts the dir below right. Just weird inconsistencies that are funny that I want to mention. Second thing I want to do is, so we're storing the dir, the direction. That's what the dir is. We're storing the direction, and then when we shoot, which is what? D? D is our shoot? How fitting. We're shooting the bullet, and we're giving the bullet the dir, okay? We're giving it our direction. So I want to do two things here. I want to add strafing to a Johnny game, which is hilarious. And then I want to make sure the bullets go in the right direction. So that's the second thing we need to do. So first off, let's make sure the bullets actually take the right direction. So you notice here, the bullets, they're created. Their direction is equal to 2. And then if direction, we have action move. I see. So this is old, outdated code, which is why it's not working. Yeah. So we got to fix this. So we got to make the bullet code into a step event. And then we got to do, based on the direction, that's what we need to move it. So what is the easiest way to do that? I think the easiest way to do that is just to do a switch statement. So this may be the first time you're encountering a switch statement. So our switch is dir. Switches are kind of like if statements, but they're slightly different, where we have a case, and then we break from the case afterwards. So here's what we're going to do. We have 4 of them. We have up. We have left. Well, I guess up, down, up, left, down, right. Left, up, down, right. How should I do it? Let's do left, right, and then up, and then down. Okay. And then so we have case. Well, actually, I don't know what number is what number. Let's check. Actually, I think right is 2. That's a little weird. Okay. Left must be 1 then, right? What is left? Left is 1. Right is 2. Up is 3. Down is 4. So left, right, up, down. Okay. I think I said up is 3 and then down is 4. Okay. So what this is doing is we're checking the switch. We're checking direction. If direction equals 1, we're going to do code. If it equals 2, we're going to do code. If it's 3, whatever. Yada, yada. You get it. Then within these colons here, we can add our code. So our speed for our bullets is probably always going to be the same. So let's do, it looks like the speed here. Let's see, can we see what action move is? What is this? Takes an argument, moves it in, start speed to move is parameter 2. So that is 9. Okay, I'm assuming it's moving 9. So let's just make the speed 9. I thought that was the speed. And then let's comment this out. So when you comment it out, it doesn't run. So you see I have that bracket thing here. I can end an end bracket here to close it off. Otherwise, if I write something after this, it wouldn't be, you know, code. It would just be commented out. So we're commenting that out. We're setting the speed automatically to 9. Now we need to set the real direction based on what we have. So direction is a built-in variable. Once we apply speed in a direction, it will automatically move in that direction. So what is the direction we have here? Well, left is going to be, so actually the easiest one to do is going to be right, since direction right is equal to 0. Remember that circle from the last thing I did? For actually, let's use old MS Paint. Look at that. We can use old MS Paint to draw this now. Now we're really cooking here. Oh, I can even use the paintbrush and make a weird circle. Okay, so if you remember, this is 0, okay? This is 90. This right here is going to be 180. And then this down here is going to be 270. So you'll see, notice that in GameMaker, the circle goes this direction. I don't know why they do that, but that's just how they do it. Rather than going clockwise, it goes anti or counterclockwise, depending on what region of the world you use. So we start at 0, so that's why we're setting the direction for right to 0. And then if we want to do left, we have to do 180 equals the direction. If we want to do up, then the direction equals 90. And then if we want to do down, the direction equals 270. So now, this should work for the fire bullets. Let's make sure it works for the fire bullets. Remember, we also have magic bullets, which have its own set of code. So let's check the fire bullets. Stop our project. So now, we shot right, and we go left. Yep, work perfect. And then we go down. So now we have the orthogonal Johnny direction movement. You'll notice now that the bullets are under Johnny, so let's change that, okay? I don't like that the bullets are under Johnny. We created a layer for it. I want to make sure that the bullets actually spawn on the correct layer. So we go into our shoot variable. Now, in modern GameMaker, there is no instance create, okay? Because this is a project, because I took an old Johnny project and then compiled it, I imported it into GameMaker Studio 1 and then imported that upport, that upcycle into GameMaker Studio 2, which is now just called GameMaker. It created a backlog of functions that don't exist anymore. The modern way to do this is to do instance create layer. Okay, so when you create an instance, you choose not only the X where it spawns, you choose the Y where it spawns, and you choose the thing you're spawning and the layer. So right between here, you can see there's a layer ID. Okay, so, and you can see all functions, some of them require things to be input in order for them to work. So this function, instance create layer, you'll notice it takes an X, which is a real value, which just means a real number, as opposed to an imaginative number, okay? And then Y takes a real number as well, and then it has a layer ID, string, or the ID of the layer. We can get into IDs later, it doesn't matter. We can just do the string of the layer for now, and then whatever the object is, or you can add a struct or whatever. That doesn't matter. So the layer we want it to be on is the bullets layer. So we're going to do a string. Obviously, strings are denoted by the quotes. You'll see we have a bullets layer here, and we also have a bullets layer in this room. If the bullets layer did not exist, it would throw an error and crash. So remember that. So we're creating on the bullets layer, which is above our player layer. We're going to create bullets. So let's make sure this works properly. So this is above the player, and above the player. Okay, perfect. Now we have directions for each of our things, and they are above the player, so we can still make that work. Now we're going to add strafing, because I think that would be hilarious. So now what we're going to do is, so for each of these keys, whenever you press these keys, it sets a direction. And whenever you press the down key, or the D key, sorry, whenever you press the D key, we're creating a bullet. All right. And then when we create a bullet, we give the bullet whatever the direction that we previously held was, because direction is always changing based on what we're hitting. So what we're going to do is we're going to make it so an exception. So we're going to do if keyboard check. Okay, so we're going to do check. How keyboard check works is if it's being held down, that's what happens. So we're checking VK, shift, which is a built-in thing. So if we're holding shift when we're shooting, you're not going to do the direction. So here, what's a better way to do this? If we're not pressing shift, then do this direction. I only want to overwrite the direction if we're not pressing shift. So then let's do that for up. So now the direction will be like that, and then do this. Because I want strafing in this game. That was something that annoyed me in the Johnny games, and I want to be able to strafe. Whoop. And I think that would be really funny. Okay. So that should work. Let's see how it works. So now, when we shoot. Okay. And then if I hold shift, it maintains my gunshot. Okay. So now if I hold down and shoot. Whoop. It's not working. Okay, what if I... Oh, okay. Alright, we gotta change it. If I'm not hitting shift and I press key down, direction equals 4. Oh, sorry. That's right. I gotta transfer over to the magic bullets now. So hold on. So we have fire bullets. We're copying that step. We're adding it to these bullets. We're commenting out this. Because we don't need this. Actually, we don't even need this old code anymore. Remove the old code. Because it tried converting up old code and just did not work. Make sure the speed is 9 for the magic bullets. This is a little annoying. We can probably do something different for bullets in the future, but I do want the bullets to be uniquely defined as themselves, and each one will interact differently with the world. So now these have a step event. They also have the if collide with this. Oh, we have action kill object. That's... Why isn't that just instance destroy? It is just instance destroy. Okay. All right, we'll leave that as it is because it's kind of funny to say action kill object instead of instance destroy. But okay, so now if we shoot, okay, we can change the direction, but then if I hold shift, it maintains the direction, so I can keep moving. Okay, so if I'm shooting down and I hold shift, now I can strafe essentially, which is beautiful. What a beautiful Johnny mechanic. Now our Johnny game is getting so uniquely complicated in all the buttons we press. It's actually amazing. But that was something I wanted to be able to do that. I think that would have made the boss fight for that stupid worm a lot better, personally. Would to be able to hold down, shoot, and then sort of strafe your way to killing it. I would have preferred that. So anyways, we solved that problem. For some reason, I feel like the next thing we gotta do is we gotta add a water bullet. We have fire. We have magic. Let's do the next element, which is gonna be the water bullet. And then we can... Yeah, I mean, we got quite a bit going on here. I like what we're doing here. I like how jank this is. Okay, let's add a water bullet. It needs water. So all of these bullets are what? 64 by 64? Okay. They're 64 by 64, but they don't take up that much space. So let's do create sprite, SPR, water bullet. And let's sort of envision what we want to do for our next bullet. Needs to be blue. Oh, we got to change the sprite size. It's a little too small. 64 by 64. Okay. And when I think of water, I think of soft edges. I think like rounded, soft sort of edges. So let's find a watercolor. I want to do a mix of blues, I think. We'll do 3 colors, just like our fire. So let's do like a soft edge here. Yeah, I kind of like that. It's like water droplets. Okay. And then here, I want to do the base of the other ones too. So let's do them slightly different. I don't like that one. Maybe something like that. Nice. Yeah, this. Okay, we can probably center this a little bit better. So the water looks more mechanically similar. Okay, and we're actually going to add more stuff too, so. Okay, I don't like the speed, I think. Let's do. I don't know if I like. What if I do up here? Looks a little weird. I like that. Okay. Doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be childlike and whimsical. Alright, so let's... Whoop. Somehow I got a pink color. Let's add some more sort of water droplets here. Okay. 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 And then I'm going to add white. But we're going to do something different. Maybe we'll add squares just to be funky about it, you know? Johnny games don't need to be consistent. They can just be whatever you want them to be. Something I don't think of when I think of water. I don't think of squares. We're going to be purposely silly here. Look at that. Magic. I can even add some X's too. Make it more like make like a magical effect out of it. Plus signs or something too. Look at that. Nice. Okay, so I like this, but bring it closer to the nice. Okay, so the squares right now are a gray. They're not a pure white. I want them to be pure white, actually. I changed my mind. Do pure white. Cool. Looks kind of funky. All right, let's check the collision mask. Let's make it a square. Make it more constrained here. We can give the player more leniency with regards to how big their bullets are, and then when we get to the enemies, a better game design practice is to make it so the enemy's hitbox of their squares is less. So also, we have to change the origin of the sprite to be somewhere in the center so that it sort of shoots center-ish. So I think there is like kind of the center of our weird water effect. Okay, and then now we're going to duplicate our fire bullet to create a water bullet. And probably a better way to do this, but it's fine to just be to do what we can. Okay, so this element is going to be water. It's going to do 5 damage, same direction, same stuff, same code here, pretty much all the same. The only thing we're going to do now, though, is we're going to make it interact better with the world. So first we need to make sure Johnny himself can shoot it. So we have Johnny here. We need to make sure he can shoot the water bullet. So let's add that. Add it in. So obviously last time when we were making our Johnny game, we had an array that had each bullet in it. And then we can increase moving towards the array with this. So we can actually fix our array now while we're at it too. So I'll show you how we do that. So we have 3 bullets in our array. We start magic, then we have fire, then we have water. Okay, the next thing we do is for when we hit Q and E, those sort of move through. Right now I have it hard-coded, but I don't want it to be hard-coded. So we have currently, if we're pressing Q, which is to the left of W, that's like my left movement. If it's greater than this, then we minus the current bullet by 1. That's fine. The base of our array is always going to be 0, so that we can leave that as it is. Now, as we add stuff to the game, the problem is that our array is going to get more and more bigger, and it's going to have more and more stuff in it. So we have a max bullet thing, which determines how much max bullet. If we're less than the max bullet, we add 1. Awesome. So now we have a max bullet thing here, but I need the max bullet to check the size of the array. Rather than be a hard-coded number, it needs to take however many bullets are in the array, and then that's what the max is going to be. How many elements are in here, and then that's what it's going to decide. So I could just make this 2, but then I'd have to change it every single time. So what I want to do is I want to actually just check the array. So we're going to do array length, okay? And then we're going to check the length of the bullet array. Perfect. Now, it's going to be like, okay, the array length checks the length of an array, and you specify the dimension you want and get the length when you supply an array index. So we're giving it this, and it's going to tell us how many elements are in it. Problem is it's going to give the elements of every element in the array. Okay, arrays start at 0. All right. Now the problem is that if we just check the length of the array, it's going to be 1, 2, 3. Okay, and then that would make this number max bullet 3. Problem is we do have 3 things in the array, but it starts at 0. So what we have to do is we have to do -1 in order to get the actual max length of the array. So we're going to do that. Stop our project, run it again. Okay, so now we have a shoot magic, shoot fire, and shoot water. Beautiful. Glorious. Okay, and then we have our shrink. Then we have our nose lengthen. I think the next thing I want to do, well, we should program it so that our, let's do that next. Let's make our water actually do something. So let's set the nymph's life to 500 so that we can test this better. And what we're going to do is we're going to do, So if it collides with player damage right now, an element equals fire, it is inflamed, okay? Now we have a water bullet though, so we're gonna do an else if statement here. If the bullet dot element equals, this should be equals water, and what we should do, and if inflamed equals true, then we're going to turn inflamed off. Inflamed equals false, but you still take the damage of whatever this is. So it'd be that, and then we'll do the hurt thing. Okay, so this is if on fire, turn off, and this is inflame from fire bullet. And this is other bullet resolution. So if we're dealing with any other bullet that doesn't have a fire or water, if we're not inflamed, whatever. So what that means, what we're doing here is we have a nymph now, and then when we put her on fire, we can put her out as well. So this will give us more of a game mechanic here. So we got this, and then we can put her out. There you go. Now she goes back to normal. We can add a water effect for that too. So let's do that. Let's add some particle effects. That's what the game needs. Oh, actually, did I set the nymphs? So I set her inflamed to false, and then her inflamed is, yeah, she loses life based on inflame. She didn't seem like she had that much life. Oh, that's because the dots are taking, it does 1 to 2 times. Okay, let's just make her dot 0 to 1 time. I don't want her to lose too much life because then she dies too quickly. She's already got 500 HP. The fire really takes her out. Let's do a water effect now. So to do the water effect, we're going to grab our water colors, which are these 3 colors here. And then we're just going to create a sprite, SPR water splash. Actually, let's name it something silly. Let's do splish splash. There we go. Wild. Wild. We're getting really crazy in here, guys. It's actually getting incredibly crazy. All right. So let's do a splish splash. How do I want to do this? So I think what I want to do is we're going to create a series of splash effects. I don't know if I like that one. Let's do like this. Okay. And then we'll do another one. Like that. Maybe like this. We'll do another one. Like that. And like this. And we'll do another one. This. Maybe like that. Whatever. Okay. 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 And okay. And then we're going to do some more stuff here. Okay. Whoop. Whoop. Okay, for some reason, GameMaker likes to, oh my goodness. GameMaker likes to do its own thing, man. It kind of just, I'm here for the ride. It's like a roller coaster with this program, man. It just does its own thing. Okay. Okay. All right. So I got these things here. Cool. And then let's add a little bit of white in here. I'm just going to add some circles around. Sort of make it splashy. I'm not going to do the squares because the square is kind of like the magic, you know. Have some overlap. Square is like the magic effect. This is just water. Okay. Let me get rid of this. Okay. So now we have sort of a splash thing here. And what I want to do is we're going to create a particle effect. So let's make a generic particle. So it's going to be obj particle. And right now it's going to have the splash thing here. It's going to create, and we're going to have a step event, pretty much the basis of every object in GameMaker. So what are we going to have here? We're going to have a, it's not going to collide with anything. It's going to be immune to all of that. So we're going to create its own separate h speed. It's going to be 0, and then v speed equals 0, and then gravity equals 2. And then here's what we're going to do. So the v speed, the h speed and the v speed is actually going to be in a random number. So random range. Let's do, it doesn't honestly matter. We can do anything from 4, well, let's do -4 to 4. Actually, maybe we can do a bigger splash than that. Let's do that. And then the V speed is going to be a negative number because we want it to sort of go up. So maybe like -6 to -1, and then gravity of 2. And now we're going to define our gravity here. So if gravity is less than or greater than or equal to 10, which is going down, then gravity plus equals gravity, right? If it's less than or equal to 10. Less than or equal to 10, then we add gravity. Pretty simple. And then we're going to do an if outside the room. Where are we? Outside room. We'll do instance destroy. And then also let's do a rotation. Rotation equals I random range 20 to, well, we can even do something like 10 to 30. Okay, so we're rotating anywhere from, actually, let's do -30 to 30. Okay, and then in our draw step, this is how we draw our sprite. We don't have to always define the draw sprite, but we can here. So we're going to do a extended draw. So draw sprite extended. And we're just going to feed it all of the default variables because the only thing we're changing is the rotation. So we have sprite index, image index is our sub image. We have an X, we have a Y, we have image, X scale. These are all built-in variables that we're just leaving. Actually, I could probably, I don't need to do this. I don't need to do it. Sorry, I made that too hard. Let's do it even easier. Let's do it simple. We're going to just do image angle plus equals in our rotation number. That's even easier. Let's just do that. One line, simple. And then we just need to do y plus equals v speed, x plus equals h speed. Yeah. Am I missing something? I think I'm missing something. Let's look at jump off the bridge. I'm missing something here. So I think I have a default script for gravity, right? Enemy gravity. So vertical, if v speed is less than, oh, v speed plus equals gravity. That's what it is. Got it. That's what we need to do. I messed up. I messed up my own programming. Less than equal to, yeah, if v speed less than equal to 10, v speed plus equals gravity. Okay, so then that makes it from a negative number to a positive number. And that's what we're going to do. Okay, so that should move them. It should go up and over and around. And then what we need to do is we need to make the nymph create a bunch of these when she gets hit with water. So she's hit with player damage, and she's hit with the water thing. So we're going to do instance create layer. And we're going to do X, Y. Oh, let's make sure this is centered too. We need to make sure our origin is in the center. Okay. And then we can also do the, well, we can set that later. It doesn't matter. Okay. So now in the nymph, she's going to create X, Y, and then she's going to create on the bullets layer, object particle. And we're going to define what the particle is here. So we're going to do var part equals, well, part equals that. And then we're going to do part dot image speed equals 0 because we don't want it to change frames, I don't think. And then we're going to do image index. So this is the sub image of the sprite is going to equal an I random based on the image number -1. So this is the number of images in a sprite. We're basically, what I'm doing is I'm making it so it doesn't animate, and then I'm making it so whatever the sub image of the image index is, that's just, it's picking an image number between the whole thing and then setting it and making it work. Kind of weird to see Johnny in pixel art. Not my thing. Well, he's kind of in pixel art. But I get what you're saying. You like a more painted. You like a more painted thing. Hello, Fuzzy. How are you today? How's your day going? Read Discord DMs, please. It's actually important. Actually important. Uh. Okay, gotcha. Okay. Well, then I'll keep that in mind. The only thing is that I don't mind banning the things. I just don't have a ban thing here. I'll go through the work. I'll go through the work. Let me get on my stream dashboard. How do I do that? Do. Thank you, Hammer. I appreciate that, though. I will actively be my own banner. Ban. Does that work? Did I ban him? I think so. How do you get to your moderation thing? I'm on my channel. What does knock mean? You cannot call in to join your own stream. Yeah, that makes sense. Why would I ever want to do that? If you trust me, I'll mod for you. You are here pretty often, to be honest. I do trust you. But I'm not going to set up the moderator thing right now. I'll do that after stream. I appreciate the offer, though. I will take you up on that. Can I? Oh, I can see. I can do mod view. There we go. Okay, I figured it out. Sorry, I'm new to this. I haven't been here before. No worries. Okay, sweet. All right. So we're in it. They are so mean. Yeah. Oh wait, look, I know. Oh wait, sorry, Johnny. Okay, wait. Sorry, I missed some chats. My apologies. Did I ask Fuzzy how you're doing today? Let me know how you're doing today. I want to know. And that goes for anyone. Let me know how you're doing today. Johnny 3 song lyrics. How long till that mystery roach has been gone? Go. Look, I know it's just Twitch staff are tough, and some people do the bot thing and then report the streamer to get them banned off Twitch. Yeah, that makes sense. I've seen that before. I've been meaning to ban and report them, but I do have a history of banning them, so they could see that. But yes, they are so mean. They are. Are you talking about Twitch staff? I need to also multi-stream to Kick too, I think. That's probably what I'm going to set up next. Okay, what were we doing? We're just adding the particle effect. Okay, so we're going to repeat this a random number of times. Range, and it's going to be 10 to 20. Seems like a good number. We're going to create particles, and then each particle has a random thing. We're actually going to define, we're going to make sure, I know right now the sprite index is equal to water, but that may not be the case always. So let's do water splish splash. Okay, so now that when the particles spawn, they're going to randomly spawn on her. We can actually do it wherever the bullet hits too. So we could do other.x and then other.y. So wherever the bullet hits, that's where the splish splash effect will happen. It should only happen once. Water splash. Let's see how that looks. Okay, whoop. My bad. Okay, so we go to the fire bullet, we hit her with that, and then we hit her with water. Okay, that's a little weird. So we go fire, water. The splash is not doing what I want it to do. What do we got to do here? Oh, that's right. It has oh, wait. Particle. Plus it equals gravity. Gravity's 2. V-speed equals... Maybe we need to do something faster. Y equals plus equal that. Image rotation. Gravity equals that. Gravity is 2, I think, in this game. Oh, maybe I just need to make them faster then. What is Johnny's vertical fall rate? Does that have a cap on it? I don't think it does. Because he's just using built-in action set gravity. Yeah, what does this do? Dir equals gravity direction value plus it equals gravity. Okay. Maybe I just need to make the numbers bigger then. And the gravity stronger? Maybe that's what I gotta do. I want them to have a sort of arc. That's what I'm trying to do here. So the water just sort of flaccidly falls down. That's kind of not what I want. Particle. Maybe I need a more wilder. Oh, it's probably because I'm defining such a wide range. That's probably it. Let's do -12 to -8 or something. Let's see what that looks like. That looks almost better. Almost better. Maybe I can just do... Maybe I don't need rotation. Let's see what that looks like. Let's do... Because they fall so quickly. That's probably the problem, is that they fall so quickly. Let's do 20 to 14. Yeah, there we go. That looks more waterish. I could probably actually do way higher, too. And then this could actually be way higher. To sort of give a big splash effect is kind of what I want. Yeah, there we go. That looks more splashy. Yet they sort of feel like they float a little too much. Yeah, we'll leave it, I guess. Okay, looks good. Looks good. I like how that looks. And we can press enter to restart the room. So we can put her out. Make her splash. Good, okay. Maybe she needs a explosion. That's what we gotta do next. She needs to blow up into a bunch of wood pieces. That's what I want. Make the nymph blow up. Let's grab her colors. Let's do oh yeah, SPR nymph particle. Let's just do part. Let's do that. Okay, and then let's do maybe like 100 by 100. She's kind of big. She's kind of low-key big for real. Okay. Let's keep our color in here. Let's make some sticks, actually. That would be really funny. Just a series of sticks. Like that. Let's do another one. Maybe like a bigger log or something. She's chopped up, dude. She's chopped up is what we got going on here. I'll fix that in a minute. Let's add some more sticks here. Okay. I want more sticks than logs, so. Okay. And then let's do. Okay. And then let's do a smaller shape so we can sort of get some of these finer edges here, round it out a little bit. Okay. Like that. This can be Just a weird thick stick, I think. It doesn't matter. I'll leave it like that. Like this. Okay, I like that. Let's see that. Doesn't need to be perfect ever. We got some logs, and then we got some more sticks, and then perhaps we can even add the green from her hair here. Let's see that. Let's add some leaves. We can actually make a. Well, here, let's grab that color. Then we can use circles here. Just sort of add a little leafness on some of these. Maybe like down here. We'll shape those leaves in a second. Okay, and we can do it like that. Okay, add some variation here. And this one can be. Okay, we got that, and let's add the shading now. You can add shading just a little bit on there. Give the branch a little bit more distinction. This one we can shade more here. Okay. And sort of do like this. We can even add more bark over here. So close it in like that. Just the bark on the outside will kind of be lighter. Like I said, never needs to be perfect. Just needs to be playful and silly is what I'm aiming for. Let's see right here. That. You can add a knot here. Add some variation. Okay. And need that dark color again. Add that. Oh. There we go. Actually, I kind of want to do. Yeah, there we go. More restrained circle. Okay. Nice. Just some lines to sort of define this branch here. Okay. Now we got some weird. I can even make this more three-dimensional. Nice. Look at all those dimensions on that. Truly dimensional. Okay. And then now we can get rid of this. And let's bring our sticks sort of in the center here. So that they're all kind of rotating well. Nice. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're actually going to use the particle thing that we did. And we're going to change it up a little bit. So how we're going to do this is we're going to do our nymph when she dies. So here, let's do copy this code, pretty much the same code. We have a step check, and if her life is less than or equal to 0, death. Typically, she just adds to our score and then destroys herself. But before she does that, she's gonna blow up. Gonna go big. All right, so the only thing we're changing here is we're actually gonna change part.rotation, which is gonna equal choose, and it's gonna be maybe we'll do 10, 20, 30, negative 30, negative 20, negative 10. It's going to pick one of those. So we do choose, no matter how many elements we put in there, it's going to pick one. And rotation is defined in our part, which is the particle. And it's set as 0 to start, but we're setting it to something. It's red for some reason, probably because rotation is something else in GameMaker, but it doesn't matter. Actually, we can make it rotate. Oh, there. So that it doesn't look like that. There we go. Now it rotates. Oh, and then we need to make sure that this is also rotate. Otherwise, it's going to throw us an error. Well, there you go. Okay. Now, instead of water splish splash, we're going to choose the nymph part. Okay. And then the other thing we're going to do is this is going to be within our nymph. So we'll get rid of the other command. And then we're actually going to add irand. Well, it doesn't need to be irandom. It can be just a random range between numbers. So she is centered right now. And I want all of these to radiate randomly outward. So let's look at how big she is. How thick my nymph is. Okay, so we have, where is this at? This is at 100, and then if we go up here, that's like 80 up, and then like, it's like about 100 down. Okay, it's 100 up and down. So we can do a random number between, let's do a more constrained -70 and 70. And then for this, we can do a 40 and 40. And then we can probably change the speed, but let's just see what it looks like. Let's do 20, let's do 30, and let's take her out and see how it looks. If Johnny was real, I would want to be friends with him. It's true. Splatter explosion. Yeah, it's a splatter explosion. She blows up, turns into a bunch of logs. Look at that. Nice. Let's kill her with the magic particle so you can see it better. It just turns into a bunch of sticks, and I actually love that. That looks great, bro. That's super funny. Just completely a bunch of logs. Something else we can do to have fun with it as well is we can make nymph part burned, and then we can do like burned wood, which is just blackened wood. We can get rid of the leaves here. So let's get rid of these leaves. And then we can do like ashy looking wood. We'll just change the colors. It's not going to be anything crazy, but it'd be funny. So we'll do this for that. And then for the darker color, we'll go one lower. And create like a sort of ashed. We can even cut into some of the wood too. So for black, we can blacken it up and then sort of remove some of the stuff that we did here. Sort of shape it slightly differently. Obviously the ends of wood are going to burn off faster because they're smaller. We can show like a sort of burn process here. We cut into it a little bit. Obviously outside's going to burn first. And then we just make sure we show this as black, like wood would be, because it's hot from the fire. Just a little bit more variation to make it feel like you're, none of these things are really important as far as like game functionality goes, but it adds personality to see like, oh, somebody is thoughtful about, I could just make her blow up into sticks, but like, where's the fun in that? Like I can have more fun with it. I can, even if how long does this really take to do? But it adds like some personality to it. I think that's where the key difference of having fun making games. Like you have all this potential, you can do all this stuff. Like why don't you have fun with it? Like doing the bare minimum or just what's marketable is boring. I think some of the love that comes in game design comes from people having fun with their capacity and just playing around with it. That's what I hope to do here. I think the essence of Johnny is playing around. It doesn't need to look like, whatever standard you set. It just needs to be you playing around in a play box, the sandbox of creativity sort of thing. That's what I think the essence of a Johnny game is. You exploring your own unconscious themes and just having fun with it. You see we got some burn here. I can probably cut into this a little bit more. Okay, let's cut this up. Sort of remove some of these tips. There needs to be personality and love in this. I messed up that one sprite. I gotta I saw it. I gotta fix it. Okay, that looks burn more. And we got one more here. Like I said, don't need to be perfect. Just need to make progress. Progress over perfection. You can also, actually, I changed my mind. There's one other color I want to add to this. I want to add like a red. Let me catch with Jack. Also, Johnny Remastered is a cool idea, but selling it or any other Johnny fan game for money would just be immoral. So I agree with you on half of your statement. I think remastering the game and selling it is immoral because it's somebody else's art and you'd be plagiarizing it. If you make a fan game, though, I think you could definitely sell it because it's your fan game. And by the time you're done with a fan game, I imagine you would have changed a lot of the code to be uniquely your own. I can see myself pretty much rewriting this entire thing, so that's what I think the distinction is yeah, if you're just stealing people's stuff and plagiarizing, I think that's immoral, obviously. But if you're making a game that's inspired by it and, you know, the intention is for people to play it, I don't think it's immoral to sell the fan game itself. Does that make sense? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let me know what you think. I'd love to hear your thought on it. Because I think I could see myself putting my game on Steam for like $1 once I finished it, depending on how much work I put into it, you know? I want my work to be valued in that way. I think $1 is a fair price for something like that. And it also opens up the opportunity for more people to see Johnny and potentially reach a wider audience. So those are my thoughts on that. I guess you could argue that you're taking a character that exists, but I feel like Kim wanted people to. I don't know. It's hard to say, actually. I guess it depends. I guess the character is vaguely copyright, so you have to think about that. But he also changes between each game, and yeah, there is debate there for sure. There is debate. Okay, I think this just looks like blood with the way that I have it, and it needs orange to make it look less like blood and more like hot, cold, or something. I don't want it to look like blood. It looks a little weird. Okay. Okay. So now these are burnt. Maybe I just do burnt. It makes more sense to me. Okay. And then for the nymph, so when she dies, we're going to do just an exception here. If inflamed equals true, and we use something else. Otherwise, we use the normal nymph part. So we're just going to make this burnt. Did I do that right? Oh, nymph part burnt. There we go. Nymph part burnt, else, otherwise. Cool. So let's see what that looks like. I'm working on my semi-slam attack in your game, Fuzzy. That's interesting. Your semi-slam attack. Use GameMaker 8.2 effects and some of the sprites you said were present there, like glow and outline. That would be funny. Yeah, I don't know if Kim actually used any of the glow or outline, but that could be interesting. So here, let's put her on fire and let's make sure she blows up. And yeah, so they're burned. So it's just like it's a little effect, but it still looks like there's care being taken towards her actually being. And then if we put her out water, and then defeat her. It's just normal wood. Okay. Nice. Okay, I said I need to make the nose bigger. That's the next thing I'm going to do. The nose needs to be much larger. Fuzzy Buzzies, jump off the ledge, coming soon. Actually, better jump off the ridge would be better. I think, yeah, I think that would be funny. I mean, I think you can do your own. I don't think I own the concept of jumping off something. So, in the same way that, you know, something like a character named Johnny with a nose, I guess is more distinct. I don't know. That is a debate. That is a very big debate. I guess the way I think about it is I think the world needs more Johnny and more things like Johnny, more imperfect, childlike things. So I think using that character and then selling a game that you put a lot of effort into, I don't think is immoral. But yeah, if you just remaster all the stuff that we decompiled and put it up for sale even after putting a bunch of work into a remaster, I don't think that's moral because that's Kim's art, you know. I think there's a plagiarism thing there. There's an infringement of using somebody else's code and art. Even if you, like, something I was debating between for if I did a remaster was, like, adding stuff like a power-up thing or making you earn cash or some kind of money to, like, that you can use in between games to, like, buy a power-up or something. Like, even if I added all of that, I don't think it would be moral to sell it because it's still Kim's work. I don't think that's moral. But to make something inspired by it but be your own unique thing and sell it, I don't think it, as long as you did all the art, you did all the work, you did all the programming, I think that's not immoral. So actually another good game that starts with jump is Jumping Flash. Dude, it's funny you mentioned that. I own Jumping Flash for the PS1. I have it in one of those big VHS cases that they originally did for the PlayStation 1. Let me see if I can show that. I can find a picture of it. I have played Jumping Flash. The first one's kind of awkward. Big PS1 case. I don't even know if they have pictures of it. It's so old looking. Flash, PS1. Yeah, here we go. I have the Jumping Flash in this old. They used to. The original first PS1 cases. Actually, I don't need to open Reddit. Can I just open this image in a new tab? Yeah, I have this thing here, the chunky case, and then they kind of did like this case before they got to the more refined case. I have that at my house. Pretty cool. I bought that game. I like that game. It's one of the few PS1 games I've beat. Interesting. I didn't know that. I don't even think I've, well, obviously I didn't know that because I don't know what you've beaten, but I don't think I've ever beaten it. I guess what I didn't know is that, like, I didn't think it would be easy to beat. It's kind of weird as a game. So, man, dude, I love these jank mechanics. The nose needs to be slightly bigger, though. Let's make a bigger nose for Johnny here. So we have this nose in mechanic. I just want a bigger nose. I'm sorry for being a bit of a size queen here. There's something about this nose that needs to be longer, more scaffoldingable. I like the absurdity of a bigger nose. Is that better? I don't know. I also like the nose to have a flat edge here, so let's extend that more. I don't know if that works better or worse. Let's see. Let's try it. I still take damage from her. I gotta change that. I gotta give Johnny some invincibility frames, bro. Yeah, that's much better. That is much better. I like the... I think our gun is like a little too close even. I don't know. I guess it doesn't matter. I just want to be able to use this nose. If it gets too small, it's gonna go through certain platforms. So you got to make sure the platforms are thick enough so that Yeah. There's got to be like a height limit. Yeah, we'll figure it out. Nose definitely being bigger is better, for sure. Sorry, short kings, no. That doesn't make it. It just feels slightly better to have like a little bit of an extended reach here. Yeah, that's what I want. Now we got something we do actually have to consider is if we do gamepad controls at some point, you can't hit up independently of down, so it's gonna be a little awkward. I don't know if this game could even be once I finish with it, I don't know if it can be transferred into gamepad. It would be really jank. I might need to do like a rotary wheel for all the abilities or something, depending on how many buttons and how versatile Johnny is, I should say initially. Perfect. Okay. Sweet. Pretty good so far. So where are we at? We're almost at 3 hours. Is there anything else I want to do to my Johnny game immediately today? Let's see. So today, in summary, I think the essence of Johnny is just playing around and adding whatever you think is fun. So we added our water attack. We made sure that the shrink allows us to actually go up in the platform. We added our campfire, which I don't think I have the level end to get into it here, but let's add the level end. Made a campfire. Maybe I can make a big dragon. Let's put the next room over here. Can nose into it. Can't shoot when you're tiny. Nice. Got some effects going on now. Oh, that's right. I didn't add the target room equals room 2. Let's run that now. Very simple. Oh, she killed it. Yeah, I should probably add I should probably add some invincibility frames. Maybe knockback, dude. Maybe make Johnny knockback. That would be pretty funny. Yeah, then we get our fire over here. Cool. Maybe I'll make a Johnny get on fire. Oh, it looks like the fire needs to be 1 pixel lower. Let's close these. Yeah, it's 1 pixel too high. There we go. Perfect. Nice. Awesome. We added strafing, a much needed Johnny mechanic. An unnecessarily much needed complicated Johnny mechanic. Gives us a little bit of versatility here. Yeah, that feels better. So I'm going to keep that in there. Yeah. Isn't that pretty cool? It turned out pretty cool. I like how it works. I think the strafing definitely, because then I can like run in a direction and shoot also in whatever direction I last held. That makes it a lot more versatile with his weird movement. Maybe I should add a, maybe we do the Johnny hurt. But how do I do it? That's the problem. Is Johnny's sprites, if we change him, his collision changes. So we gotta operate within the general Johnny hurt. I don't know if I want to do that. I could just make him red, but that'd be a cop-out, you know? I could have fun with it. Let's do like maybe that's the last thing we'll do before we end stream. We'll play around with the hurt mechanic. So let's do, his nose should be turned upright, I think. That's kind of what I want to do. Oh, I messed up my gun. I didn't see that. Actually, perhaps it's just better to draw it instead of doing this weird. Yeah. There we go. Johnny has not shown physical pain in the series, but he will in mine. He will show physical pain. He will look in pain. Okay, like a slight upward tilt, and then maybe like his nostrils flare. So he's got like a sort of nostril flare here. And then his mouth needs to change, so we'll do a like that. And then his eyebrow, obviously, whenever you take damage in real life, the eyebrow leaves the position of your forehead. So we'll do like a, I don't know what. That's just naturally how eyebrows work if you haven't, you know, and then we can give him bigger eye as well. It looks a little weird there. Let's do like, I don't like that double thing. Maybe like that. Around that corner. I like the pinched mouth. It looks funnier. Okay. And then maybe I gotta get his gun back, but maybe we do. Actually, maybe we just ignore the gun altogether. Forget the gun. Let's just make his arms wave wildly. That's funnier to me. Let's do that. Let's get rid of that. And let's do like a something like this, and then like his arm goes up like that. Something like this. I think I did the wrong. Thumb should be over here. Okay, problem with this though is that it needs to be on a different layer so we can edit it better. So let's actually do an arm layer here. So we're gonna do. It can be wacky, but okay. Let me just thumb like that. Yeah. Give him a sort of mitten. Okay. He's taking damage. And it's gonna be, thumb's gonna be over here, I think. Yeah, wacky. His legs need to be in the same place. Because otherwise the collision's gonna change too much and it's gonna be like really awkward. Oh, sorry, this is also on a different layer. Okay, let's grab that and then put it on the right layer. Good. Do I like the mitten? I guess we'll just do the vague mitten. I don't need to define his hands that much. It's a Johnny game. Come on, man. What do you need? High fidelity graphics, please. And then maybe we'll do. Honestly, I kind of want to do like just a heart or something for some reason. Let's do like a. His heart is hurt or something, you know? Like that stereotypical like heart or something there. There we go. I'll make it like a bright red. Okay. He's taking damage. We can even do 2 frames. Obviously, every good thing needs 2 frames, so we'll make a tinier heart here. And then we'll make his arm spaz a little bit. So let's delete this arm on this layer. We'll keep the base here. And we'll delete this arm. This layer. We'll make it change. So okay. And this here. And then we'll do this one some other direction. I think his thumb's there. Oh, gotta close this off because it's not actually on a different layer. Okay. Maybe we should move his head a little bit. So let's make the nose go slightly down. And let's shake the head, I guess. Maybe the head goes down by 1, too. Looks pretty good. Oh, we should change his mouth, too. So let's do that. He looks a little too happy with that one. Needs to be stressed. So let's do a frown. And then we'll make his eyebrow change too. Frizzled and frazzled, and then his pupil can change. Maybe we'll actually change the thing here. Ah, yes. Looks good. I want to fix this little lump on his nose, though. His nostril can reduce in size for this frame, too. So receding nostril flare. Look at that. Perfect. And then we can actually make his body go down by 1, too. Okay. And then we can fix this arm thing here. Okay. So he takes damage. Okay. Perhaps this needs to be smaller. And then up and to the left. There we go. Kind of dopey. I think that's what I like about it, though. Perhaps I can. Well, let's sort of fix the arm position here. Yeah, it looks a little better if we fix the arm. Okay, cool. So that's him being hurt. We can't even do a red tint on him, but let's see how this looks first. These are his invincibility frame. So how am I gonna do this? I'm gonna do an alarm, right? So he's gonna have get rid of the shrink too. We don't need that shrink. Hurt equals false. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. So then if we're colliding with enemy damage, if hurt equals false, then we take the damage. If not hurting, take damage. Okay. And then we're going to set hurt equal to true. And then we're going to set sprite index equal to SPR Johnny hurt. And then we're going to set alarm 1, 2. Let's do half a second. Half a second of invulnerability. Actually, even better. Let's just do. Oh, we can use alarm. Do I want to use alarm? It's kind of cluttery. No, let's not use an alarm. Let's make our own alarm. Hurt time equals 15. Actually, we're gonna make it -1 for now. It's nothing right now. And then when you get hurt by enemy damage, we'll make hurt time equals 15. And then in the step event, actually we can do the end step event. If hurt time is greater than 0, hurt time minus, and then else. So if it is 0, we set hurt time to -1. We set hurt equal to false, and then that's it. I think that's it. Okay. Yeah. So now we need to do some sprite animation type stuff. So are we hurt? And then this is turn off hurt. Okay. How do I wish to do this? I would like to. So Johnny, because of his left and right movement, he's teleporting. He does not have speed. So if I want to do knockback, I have to actually use speed. So first off, let's see how the sprite thing works. I have a feeling that we're overriding the sprite somewhere, and it's not going to work. I mean, we're definitely overriding it with these things. Should you? So the question is as a gamer, should you be allowed to shrink when you're in the hurt animation? I don't think so. I think he'd be in, he'd be in pain, right? So he wouldn't be able to use any of his abilities. So what we have to do is we got to do. But then if he gets hit while he's shrunk, then we're also gonna be hurt then, aren't we? Maybe you just can't unshrink when you're hurt. This poses an interesting question. Let's just do if hurt equals true equals false, then you can do all this stuff. So if you're not in the hurt thing, you can shrink and unshrink, otherwise you're stuck that way. And then for the nose, should we be able to shoot too? No, shoot should be hurt equals false. I don't know how I want to do this. This is actually a good question. If hurt equals false, I guess we can test it and see what we like. And then if hurt equals false, and then let's see if we can do a knockback here. How does V-speed work even? I don't know. We're setting a gravity to gravity direction and gravity val. So direction and then value of 2. Interesting problem. Okay, let's do. Would it be based off your last direction? I don't know. Let's see if the sprite even works first. Oh, I guess at the end of the sprite then we would go back to, well, we need animation now, I guess. Yeah, because what's going to determine us moving? Great question. Okay, we need some kind of animation thing. I'm not going to do it yet. What I'm going to do is just, if hurt timer is off, sprite index goes back to SPR Johnny. Oh, but then if we have a big nose, then that changes, right? That's the problem. What is the problem? Okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to, even better idea. So when you get hit by this, we're going to have a before hurt sprite equals no one. So when we get hit, maybe we'll just store whatever our sprite is, sprite index, and then we go to the Johnny hurt sprite. And then after we're done with this, we go back to whatever sprite we were. That makes sense for now, I guess. It'll work for now. It's not perfect. We need some sort of system for it, but it'll still work. Oh my God. What did I do there? Okay. So yeah, problem is okay, we don't want hurt to be, it's greater than 0. Yeah, we're setting this as our problem. If it's greater than 0, else if hurt time equals 0, then we do this, and then we set hurt time to -1. Okay, that should work. So we retain our sprite, and then we do the, yeah, okay, sweet. Oh, and then we need to make sure that we're taking damage from an enemy thing. So this is, we can actually add an object here. So let's add the fire shriek, and then the fire shriek has a limited amount of time it's alive. So let's turn alarm 0 to -1. So we're going to turn it off in the creation code so we can test it. So alarm 0 equals -1. So this should never go away. And then we'll see if we actually get hurt. Let's see how that looks. Okay. It works. Yeah, I mean, he takes damage. It's only half a second. Okay, so if we're shooting, yeah, okay, and then, yeah, can't shoot for, okay, and then what if our noses lengthen and we take damage? Yeah, okay, I mean, it works. And then if we're small, he's a tiny hurt. Okay, I mean, it works. I don't, it doesn't have a knockback or anything, but honestly, maybe it doesn't need a knockback. It's a Johnny game. I can do whatever I want. It takes damage, yeah. And we can even do, this is not really necessary, but something we could do too, which would be, honestly, nothing's necessary. I don't need to justify it anymore. Forget it. What we're going to do is if hurt equals true, we can do draw set color to see red, else we can do draw set color to black. Black. Okay, so now when he's hit, for the time he is hit, it'll flash red for a second. So you can see our life turn red for a brief half second. Pretty good, honestly. I quite like it. We're fashioning something kind of jank and silly here, but it's kind of funny. Johnny takes too much damage from the fire, dude. And then we can get rid of the hurt from the monster. I would actually really like a knockback from the monster specifically. So let's see if the monster, we'll add knockback. Back equals true. I don't even know if it will work though. We'll try it. Okay, so how do we want to do this? Do we have an enemy parent? Yeah, we have a parent enemy. And then touch, oh, I should just do damage equals 10. It should be more damage if you touch the enemy, like they get a swipe in or something, you know? So then for Johnny, we're going to duplicate his enemy damage event. And duplicate it for if collision with parent enemy. It's going to be the same thing. It's going to make us hurt, but it's also going to have the added effect of with other if knock, how do we want to do this? If knockback equals true, then other dot h speed equals -10. But then Johnny needs something that says h speed is 0, so it's got to be h speed equals 0 if we touch this platform, right? Is that how that works? I don't know if that's how that works. Then wait, we go into, maybe we have to do other dot y minus equals 5. I don't know if that works. We'll try it. We'll see. So if you touch this guy, oh wait, I have a death boundary on that right now. So the nymph, if she meets Johnny, yeah, room restart. We don't want that. Delete that. Oh, is that from a parent? It is from a parent. Is it from parent enemy? Yeah, it is. Yeah, we don't need that anymore. Okay. So does that remove it from her then? Okay, it does. So now if we touch it, we should get knocked back and moved upwards. Okay, she dies for some reason. Why does she die? Oh, it's because I'm in Johnny, I'm destroying her. That's my problem. So, parent enemy, yeah, that's the problem. Okay, Don't want to destroy the other instance. But he's not moving. We need him to move. Other H speed equals -10. Let's look at that again. So we take damage. Oh, she does move us back. Oh, yeah. It works. Interesting. It's just not consistent. Maybe I got a minus higher, like 20, and then I gotta do like 20 speed. That's much better. Oh, she could just body me in a wall, bro. She could take me down. Oh, that looks good. It actually does work. Okay. Nice, nice. It's a jank knockback. Yeah, because she can knock me in this corner and I get stuck, but... Oh my goodness, yeah, that's kind of frustrating, but funny. Alright, wait, can we just do like a 15 or something? Let's see if that's much more manageable. Maybe I'll do 15 for both. I hate the idea of like touching an enemy and just dying. Like I kind of think I'm gonna make like a Johnny RPG. Honestly, it's kind of what the vibe I'm thinking of doing here. Okay, so you touch him, but he doesn't. Oh, we need to change his V speed too. That's what I'm missing. Sorry. Let's do his V speed to like -8. So then he actually should have an arc, right? Because I'm moving him off the ground with the Y, and then I'm hitting him, and then he should. Yeah. Yeah. There. Okay. Nice. Nice. Okay. Kind of got like a little knockback then. It doubles though if she hits it off better. Maybe I should just do -10. I do like the bigger H speed knockback, so that's what we're gonna do. Okay. So you hit this, whatever, you take damage from a bullet, not a big deal. But you get hit by her. And you fly back. Nice. You gotta take her out. Don't want to touch her. And if you got the nose length on, it just nice, dude. We kind of got a Johnny RPG going here. Now I just need to give EXP for killing the enemies and more EXP if you use the right weapon to kill them. And you can take bullets, you know, no knockback. Got strafing. We really got something going on here. I can even draw a health bar. It doesn't need to be a number. I can draw a health bar and a number. We can go hard with this. We're creating the Johnny RPG, and it's got all the jank that a Johnny game has, but with the complexity of a game that I would find enjoyable. And already the movement is enjoyably terrible. So okay, cool. Yeah, this game's just gonna be my playground of random ideas. I think we're gonna put everything in it. So sweet. So I think does that answer the essence of Johnny in a concise way? I think the essence of Johnny is just playing around and like doing things that are fun for the sake of it being fun. Whatever fun means to you, basically. I think that's the important aspect of. Oh, sorry, she needs to be in an enemy layer too. I think that's what makes a Johnny game a Johnny game. It's just sort of playing around, having a good time. Doesn't matter what you make as long as you make something, you know. I think that childish purity of play is what was lacking in some of those games. You know, they were making something that was trying too much to draw from a Johnny game and less about drawing from their own wellspring of interest. Actually, I should make it so that if they touch the fire shriek, yeah, let's do that. Let's do that. I like that idea. Hold on, I got another thing to do. So hold on. Fire shriek needs to be element equals fire, and then yeah, this is kind of actually a really funny mechanic. I quite like this. Okay, so fire shriek element equals fire. It's a parent enemy damage thing, right? So typically it doesn't matter, but let's do duplicate the parent damage, and then if what am I doing here? I'm doing a collision with, it's going to be enemy damage. Yeah, enemy damage. And if other dot element is fire, inflamed equals true, and take whatever the damage is of it. Else, you don't need to take any damage. Actually, we don't even need to take damage in general. Maybe you should take damage. If it is fire, you take the damage of it. So does Fire Shriek have damage in it? I think it does. It has 5 damage. So now if we do this the way that I'm thinking, it should actually sort of chain to each of them. That would be pretty funny. That's a funny thought. Okay. What happened to my Fire Shriek? Oh, it's because I'm, hold on. So the nymph, if it collides with enemy damage, oh, got it. It's because it's colliding with itself. Okay. Here, what do we need to do here? We need to not destroy it? Yeah, we don't want to destroy enemy damage. I think that's the problem, because she's touching it and she's destroying it. Yeah, they just... oh, God. Okay, yeah. Oh, but then that's the problem, though, is that the enemy damage, you take damage from it. Okay, we got to do something different. So we need to destroy it. It needs to destroy it, but it needs to... Ooh. Okay, so in the step event, what we're going to do... This is where the IDs come in, actually. So inflamed equals true. We're creating fire. So if... we're going to create fire dot master. Our master is going to be us. It's going to have our ID in it. Okay, so we're creating a variable in fire to be master. So let's add that here. So the master of the fire, the creator of it, is going to be no one to start. But then when the nymph creates it, she puts in her own ID. All right, so if you're encountering enemy damage, and if other dot master does not equal my ID, then do all this stuff. So then it's not going to destroy unless it's something else. And it's not, you're not going to take damage from it in and of itself if it has the same ID. Should you even take damage from it? Do I want them to be able to deal damage to each other? I guess I could. Let's see. I still have Johnny music stuck in my head. That's impressive. Yeah, now they all burn into this horrible, this horrible nightmarish forest of fire. Johnny needs to practice fire safety, bro. Otherwise, we're all going down. Look at that. What a nightmare. Maybe I can make Johnny get on fire next. Fire is it cannot be used without without care. And you got to be careful with it. Otherwise, you just get this nightmare situation where all of these, you can't shoot. You're taking burn damage. That's actually glorious. I quite love that. That's super funny to me. Yeah. That's awesome. That's a really fun mechanic. There's a lot you can do with that. It's like, oh yeah, you want to kill him faster, but then it also creates this like unbridled chaos forest fire here that you got to deal with. Guys, dude, that is super funny. I actually really like that. That's glorious. See, the mechanics just write themselves. I think some of the fun... Why isn't she dying? Is she not taking damage? Oh. What's her deal? Is she infinite? Why was she not dying? Oh, I guess it's a 50% chance whether to take 1 damage or no damage. Yeah, okay. So maybe she just got really lucky. Yeah. Glorious. Actually, the fire... well, should the fire shrieks be above her? I guess they could be. I kind of like them behind for now. Yeah, they take time. It's not consistent. It's... yeah. She could just be taking the slowest amount of damage, but I think she will eventually die. I think, anyways. How lucky can this chick get? Is it because she's in a wall or something she doesn't take damage? Oh, no, she does die. Okay, it just took her a while. I guess she's the last one in the chain, so... okay, our nose is longer. Look at that. Look at it, dude. We got a whole game. I love this. This is great. Did I make sure to get rid of all the sound in this thing too? Yeah, I did. Okay, sweet. I was just making sure. All right, so I think something that a lot of the Johnny games miss the essence of. Oh, actually, here, let's test our water now. We can put them out, but they keep getting on fire. It's an endless nightmare. Oh, I should probably make it so the water collides with the fire. It actually destroys it. Yeah, we should do that first. Hold on, sorry, I got one more thing to do. I'm gonna keep one more thinking until I'm ready. So hold on. Fire shriek. If fire shriek. Actually, here, let's just copy this. We can actually copy it from the nymph, can't we? Yeah. So player damage. If fire shriek meets that, and if other element equals water. If water block, basically. So what we're gonna do, yeah. So if other element is water, we could do a splash. It doesn't really matter. What we're gonna do is we're gonna destroy other, and then we're gonna destroy ourselves. So they sort of block each other. So we destroy ourselves, we destroy the other. If other that element equals water, we can create a water splash. We can do like 1 to 3. And it's gonna create a water splash. Let's see what that looks like. So now we can actually protect her. Oh wait, assignment object. If if other element equals that, not else if, because there's nothing that precedes else if there. So now we can flame them up, and we can use this to protect ourselves from the water, from the fire. There you go. Extra mechanics for you. Now we're cooking with fire, literally. So we can protect ourselves with water. We can burn them out. Great. And we got strafing. And we got nose scaffolding. We got shrinking. This game's got everything. Look at that. 2 days of work, and we got a full ass game already. All right, so I think some of the essence of a Johnny game is playing around with mechanics that are just, you know, you being playful, you enjoying making of things, whatever you think would be interesting from a personal standard. I think that it is important to, that's the important essence of what makes a Johnny game, is that you are taking whatever knowledge you have as a game creator and you are trying to just make something that is fun and playful for you, whatever that looks like. I don't think what makes a Johnny game, I mean, there are all the elements to make it a Johnny game, right? The crazy, weird enemies, the weird art, the some of the level design stuff, some of the awkward movement. Like, those are all things that are, yeah, uniquely Johnny. But I think the essence of what makes something a Johnny game is that you're having fun with the simplicity of not trying to be a perfectionist about it, you know? It's just whatever immediately comes to mind, you're sort of accepting that as like oh, yeah, like I'll do that sort of thing, or this seems fun, let's try it, right? It's not about like pre-planning or having some sort of like rigorous thing to do, like, oh, I have to do this, or I have to do this, I have to do this. No, it's like, oh, why don't I try doing this? Or what if the player had to do this here? And it's sort of letting those conventions, those preconceived notions we build. And I think people that play games are probably worse off in that regard, because the more games you play, the more you build up like a rigid understanding of how a game should work, right? Like you understand how Mario works, you understand you have to hit the blocks. And sometimes, like even in my game, Jump Off the Bridge, I subvert that expectation. I make it so that if you hit the blocks, a negative thing happens rather than a positive thing. One of the best examples I have immediately, actually, we'll buffer this up, but I like to play with the subversion of those mechanics. The expectations from a seasoned veteran of games would encounter is instead subverted in that thing. And I play with those conventions a little bit. Where I think Johnny is different is that he sort of throws all conventions out the window and just is like pure play, pure creative spirit, pure inner child, even at the expense of the player at times. And at times that leads to cruelty, and maybe like a miserable gaming experience, but it is also interesting because it is just throwing out all conventions and playing with that. You saw in the later Johnny games there was a subversion of having keys and doors, and sometimes the keys were unnecessary, and the win object, the thing you had to collide with, was in a random area. Things like that. Sometimes the keys didn't even work for the door. Sometimes you needed multiple keys to get one door. Rather than holding this idea of like a single lock on a door, like just needing 3 keys is kind of like absurd, but because it's just playing around with the childishness of it, it works in its sense. Like you have to learn the world and sort of let those notions that you have of how it should work fall away. So one of the levels I was working on is I was working on a Mario parody for Jump Off the Bridge. Here, let me move that over. Oh, I guess it doesn't matter because we're in square mode. So one of the things I did was in my parody was that if you hit this, you just like, you can't restart, you're stuck, and then an ambulance comes and does this. So you have the subversion of like, you would think you would hit the block for a power up, but instead you get tossed into this hospital and you have to like do a sort of like stealth mission to escape it. And you can hide behind these bushes and avoid doctors to get out of the hospital, to leave early, sort of thing. So that was something I was playing with, the subversion. I do the subversion in quite a bit of other levels too. For example, this is one of my basic ones. You would think the sign is typically from the first level in the game. The sign it gives you information, but in this one, it's actually just a bait. Where did I have that? Did I just pass it up? Oh, here it is. And so the sign literally turns into a guy and shoots you and runs away. And then these turnips here, you would pick them up, and sometimes they do something. This one said shoots you as well. So I'm just subverting the player's expectations of what they think these things should do. And that's that in that example, that's a preconceived notion that I gave the player. I gave them this assumption of playing the game. These would always just be signs, and they wouldn't expect anything else-wise. Other games you can borrow from, like obviously seasoned game players. That's why I was able to use the Mario one. I haven't released that level yet. I'm not finished with it, but that is a subversion of that expectation. And I don't think Jump Off the Bridge is a joke game about like subversion of expectation among many other mechanics and things like that. But I think the Johnny games just throws all convention out the window. Maybe because Kim didn't play a lot of games. I'm not entirely sure, but it is just like a foray into, hey, I'm just going to do this because I think it would be funny, and then wow, I did that. I might as well just keep going in this vein. It was never about fixing anything because he never really considered it broken because he's not abiding by the conventions of game design. He's not looking at it from that perspective. I think my perspective of it would be I'm actively choosing what things I want to engage with based on the knowledge I have of it. In the same way that if you do music, right, like you're going to be ultimately, I think the better thing to do isn't to be ignorant about what the conventions of your art that you're doing are. I think it is always important to learn and research and understand more about the medium and what makes it, because I think you can make more interesting decisions that way. The difficulty then is to access the innocent, unseen eyes of the child to make the work you're trying to make afterwards. Like, it's one thing to learn all the conventions of what makes music beautiful, the rhythm, the like chords, the way that they play out in the order that they play, and what chord leads to another chord. All of that is very useful if you want to make a song that sounds good, even moderately good. But where the interesting thing comes in is once you understand those conventions, how you can sort of ignore them, and where you can break them and fall through. Because you can always break everything. You don't really have to follow any standard. I think that's an important thing to note. You don't have to follow any standard at all. But knowing them is part of the information lets you, because otherwise you don't really know what you're breaking or what you're not breaking. And I think you can have much more interesting intentions with that regard. So for any of those people that are starting out with game design or anything like that, I think what we can learn from what makes the Johnny games unique is that they are something that just throws out any conventions, probably because I don't suspect he knew what the conventions were, and because he didn't accept, he did accept all of the things that we consider imperfections as just what they are. He let them breathe and have their space. I think that's what makes it interesting. I think we can allow things to be quote unquote broken in the sense of not having a conceived notion of what it should be. And I think that's where you get that childlike curiosity of like, you know what, this isn't broken, you know. I don't have to adhere to this standard, whatever it is. I can just have fun with it. I think that's some of the essence of the Johnny games. I'll probably return in a couple, well, I'll be here tomorrow, but I don't know what I'm going to do tomorrow. But I'll return, and I don't know if I'm going to work on this or if we're going to play through the other Johnny fan games to see if they get the essence of play down better than we have it here, or better than the games yesterday we played. But we'll see. I'll decide tomorrow. I'll leave it up to whim. We'll see what it feels like there. Platform's going to be just red, nymphs don't attack, and low HP. So the platforms are not going to be red. They're just the base right now of what I'm doing. I'm going to make them wild and varied and weird, just like the Johnny games are. They're just a base because I want to check the collision to make sure that like I can collide the ways I want to. That's the main reason I made them red to start. Just recognizable for me and to test. But they will be different as we go forward. Thanks for the stream. It's always a pleasure to see more people indulge in Johnny. Now, thank you for coming out. Thank you for also involving me in all the lore and for also helping me explore my foray into the Johnny games. Because I knew the Johnny games, but I didn't know all of the lore and history and all the people interconnected in this web. And I think it's helping. It's going to help me in the future to create my parody of the Johnny game better as well. My homage to it and Jump Off the Bridge better. And so now I have a fan game, and then I have the homage I'm going to do. I'm going to work on a Jump Off the Bridge update over the next couple of days here as well to try to get something out before I leave for camping for a few days for a weekend. Have a busy week next week, actually, so I don't know how much I'll be streaming, but we'll go from there. But I think the important lesson I learned even from a bystander of watching other people play the Johnny games before I had gone through and played them myself was this idea of play and authenticity and just making it to make it, to not hold yourself to some perfectionist standard of some like invisible ghost of some critic or something like that that's in your head, you know. Just make stuff to make stuff. You can't leave it all in potential. I think you need to play with it, put it out there, and you can't mold clay if you don't have something made with the clay, you know. I think that's the important lesson to learn from the Johnny games is that, you know, just make it, see what you have, and if you don't like it, then you can always change it. But at least you have something to work with, right? At least it's something tangible that you can play with and mold and shape and fasten and whatever. I think that would work. I don't think Johnny cares about subverting expectations. It's better than that. Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I don't think it cares about subverting expectations because I don't think it knows what the expectations are, and I agree. I don't think it cares about it as well. Have you gotten any people to play Johnny in recent days? Not yet. I'm trying to get one of my buddies to play it as well. Suggestion for tomorrow. Play other Johnny fan games. They are much more forgiving than the ones you have played from what I've seen. Okay. I'll consider that suggestion. Like I said, I have 6 of them downloaded. Especially this, some of them look pretty good. Johnny's Nightmare and Johnny's Odyssey look pretty good. So there is no point in a video game without play. I can see that. I also think, to be honest, I think one of the most important parts of a video game for me that makes it enjoyable, the play aspect, is that the player has choice, right? The play comes from the ability and choices in the world that you create for the player. That's what makes it interesting to me, from my perspective. So, the more choices a player has, the more interactions you can create in your little world, the more options and opportunity. I think that's what makes play interesting. So, those are my thoughts. Take them or leave them. If you disagree with me, let me know in the comments. What do you think play is? What do you think the meaning of play is? What do you think the meaning of life, Johnny, and everything in between looks like? If you have watched the 50 hours of me playing the Johnny games, you are a seasoned veteran. If you have not, you can find them on my YouTube channel, Cody_Penn, Penn. Like, comment, and subscribe so that we can get more visibility for the Johnny games. And that's about it. I think that's everything we got. And for my work as well, you can check out my game Jump Off the Bridge on Steam. I think that's about it. I think that's all I wanted to do today. We engaged in some play. I'm going to go eat some food. Actually, I got to cook. I got to cook something. I don't know what I'm going to cook. I'll figure it out. All right. Hopefully you learned something about game design here. If you have any questions about that, you can leave them in the comments as well. That's it. That's it for our Midwestern goodbye. have a great day, everyone. Take it easy wherever you are. Don't work too hard. And try to play a little bit more. Be a bit more childlike and imaginative. If you can afford to. And have a great day. That'll be it for me. I'm out. Good luck. Peace.